A new season of Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup, kicks off this weekend at Brands Hatch. It is the 10th visit of the Sprint Championship to the Kent circuit, formerly the home of the British Grand Prix, and it's a track the drivers love. It's testing, it's undulating, make a mistake here and you know it's going to bite. It's another mega entry as well. Ferrari taking on McLaren, Audi, Lamborghini and Porsche and Aston Martin, and also Mercedes-AMG. And it's very hard indeed to predict which brand is going to come out on top come the end of the weekend. We've got the Pro Cup, the Gold Cup and the Silver Cup, all very competitive, all great battles set to take place within those three categories in two one-hour races around the Kent circuit with mandatory pit stops. Free practice, pre-qualifying and qualifying done to determine the two grids that we have for the two races today. And as ever in the championship, it's a stellar entry in terms of the driver lineup. Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, part of the global calendar. There's racing in America, in Asia and in Australia as well. The European calendar began with the first endurance race at Paul Ricard. We've got sprint back-to-back at Brands Hatch and Misano before the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. Then it's Hockenheim, Nürburgring, Magny-Cours. Barcelona rounds out the sprint season, and then a new race of 6 hours duration in Jeddah to round out the European Championship year. And just to prove how global GT3 racing is, we've been busy in America this weekend with action from Sebring as well. In Pro, any category of driver can take part, and this is where you'll find really the factory drivers. You'll also find one half of the reigning championship pair, Mattia Drudi. Last year he won for Audi. This year he's with Aston Martin.
2024 is completely new for me with the Aston Martin Racing. We come to you, and Nico as a new teammate. It's a new car as well for the team, for me, so it's quite a different challenge. We had already one race in Paul Ricard, and we got some good data and experience with the car. Sprint format is always different. I mean, the car has to react different way. Races are shorter, so it's way more aggressive also the race. But I think we have a good package. We just need to get quickly in the rhythm hopefully this weekend in Brands Hatch, and then see where we are.
Triple Sprint Cup champion Charles Weerts had a disappointing season by his high standards last year. But the BMW driver, once more with Dries van Thor, is looking to try to put 2024 back to his winning ways.
I mean, yes, after winning 3 times the championship together with Dries, our expectations for the championships, of course, are to win it. We know competition is very, very high, and the level is very, very high also, of course. Brands Hatch is also a very tough track in general, so it's going to be challenging. But yeah, we are ready to kick off this championship and to do our best for the season.
McLaren's looked quick at Paul Ricard in the opening endurance race, and indeed won in British GT just a week ago. There's only one in the entry, but it's a quick car. Benjamin Goethe sharing it with the factory driver from McLaren, Tom Gamble.
You know, it's a track I used to race at a lot when I was growing up, but I've actually not raced here since actually in sprint back in 2019. So I've been away from it for a few years, but hopefully it's not changed too much. Yeah, as you said, it's a bit of an old school sort of track. You know, some of the corners don't have too much runoff, not much room for error, which is actually as a driver quite exciting. You know, you don't have to worry too much about track limits most of the lap, because if you do it, then you kind of punish yourself. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back out there, and as I say, I think the car's going to be really fast, so fingers crossed we can get a good result.
In the Gold Cup, you can have 2 gold-graded drivers, or a gold and a silver. And again, this is looking at the next generation of GT hero. And one of those is Gilles Magnus, the very quick Belgian driver, once more for Santelok aboard an Audi R8.
First of all, really happy to be here in Brands Hatch, which is always a cool track. It's nice to start off here. It's maybe one of the trickiest tracks on the calendar. So yeah, nice to start here. I think last year we were already very competitive. This year, obviously, I've got a new teammate or another teammate. I'm driving with another team, and I'm confident we can do some great things in our category. For sure, the level is high, but I'm sure we'll be competitive enough to fight for overall victories in the category.
We've seen Charlie Eastwood in the past in Aston Martins. We've seen him in Corvettes on the world stage, but now he's in Fanatec GT and he's in a Ferrari. He runs in the Gold Cup, the car run by AF Corsa under the Racing Team Turkey banner with Salo Joric. And Charlie Eastwood is certainly going to be competitive around the Brands Hatch circuit.
It's my first time doing GT World Challenge Sprint, and adds a different dimension to it. Obviously shorter races, a lot more aggressive, qualifying super important, but ultimately it's still a 1 hour event. You still have to get all of the basics right, pit stops, pit in, pit out laps. So just trying to do the same process again, obviously a new car, new team, but hopefully a similar result.
The Silver Cup looks after the next generation of GT drivers just as well as gold, and it's only for silver-graded drivers, the young guns, and many are making their GT3 debut as they come into Fanatec GT. Callum Williams, though, was the winner of the Gold Cup last year for WRT. He's partnered this year by Sam Dehaan, and the Australian driver is looking very competitive once more in a car that he knows after a season of racing it in 2023. And Williams and Dehaan start as favourites for the category.
I think it's going to be a great season. Really looking forward to racing this year with Sam. Amazing to be here at Brands Hatch. It's such an incredible circuit, really old style. Quite challenging, quite narrow, but yeah, really look forward to it. And conditions overall are going to be quite variable this weekend. A bit of rain, bit of sun. So yeah, I guess just adapting to what happens as it happens is going to be really important. And yeah, that's something that I seem to be able to do nicely last year. So hopefully that continues this year. And yeah, whether it's wet or dry, I think we'll be good.
New to Fanatec GT is Rhys Barr. He's got a good track record in touring cars, for example, but now with Winward Racing, he moves to GT3 racing, and he's going to be doing a lot of learning this weekend. He's partnered by Magnus Gustafsson and the Winward Racing team, one of the crack Mercedes outfits, and Rhys Barr getting more and more competitive over the course of the weekend.
It's a pleasure to be part of the championship. It's one of the most competitive championships in Europe, if not the world, so it's going to be an intense weekend, starting off here at the Sprint in Brands Hatch. My first weekend of the year, so yeah, a lot to prove, but I'm feeling excited about it so far.
The pit lane is open, the grid is starting to fill not only of cars but of people as well. And in the sunshine, we're just heading past around about 10:30 local time here at Brands Hatch, this opening Sprint Cup race, and it's going to be a real thriller, that is for sure. David Addison and John Watson trackside, looking forward to our first 60-minute blast of the season. Ben Green will start on pole position with Mathieu Drudy's Aston Martin second. Dries Van Thor goes from third, and fourth is the McLaren in the hands of Tom Gamble. Fifth is where you find the Mercedes, and that is in the hands of Mauro Engel, number 48, the Winward Racing car, and Giacomo Altway alongside for Emil Frey Racing in the second of the team's Ferraris, ahead in turn of Christopher Hauser, and then the gold pole, Lucas Legere is next up. Charlie Eastwood out of gold comes next on the grid alongside Alex Alka. Callum Williams is on the 6th row, he's on pole in silver, and Maxi Goetz, only 12th on the grid, a man to watch and see what progress can be made. Valentino Rossi starts from 13th ahead of Aurelian Panis, then Max Hofer in the Licky Moly Team Engstler by one group entry, new to the championship. Tom Fleming, new to the championship, new to GT3, alongside ahead of Patrick Niederhauser a long way back. Newcomer Rhys Barr ahead of Sean Hudspeth, and Alexander Sims for Mad Panda Motorsport for the first time, putting that car in the Pro Cup. Paul Everard is next, alongside Ivan Klimenko. Dante Raponge for Comtiu has Marcus Pavarud for company on the 12th row, and on his own at the back is James Jakes, sharing with the motocrosser Mathis Lismont. The first race of the year in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup, is about to get underway. Pole position then, the dark blue Ferrari of Ben Green alongside the green and yellow Aston Martin of Mathieu Drudy, the red and white BMW, third Dries Van Thor. We go racing, heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Not a great start by Drudy, who wants to try to get on the inside then, but he can't do that because Dries Van Thor is alongside him. Ben Green leads, Drudy is second, Van Thor is third as they file uphill for the first time. Drudy late on the brakes, Tom Gamble fourth in the McLaren, and Ben Green hanging on in there. Drudy tries to get up the inside for Graham Hill Ben, gets roughed up, runs out wide, drops back in the pack. Tom Gamble is under attack. There, look, is Giacomo Altway right into the back of him, and out wide goes Gamble. He's off the racetrack, he's back on again, but he's losing place after place as Van Thor goes second.
And Mathieu Drudy tried to go round the outside up at Druids, but lost out ultimately to Dries Van Thor. Oh, look, up coming through Graham Hill Ben. And that has, whether that was self-produced or whether that was as the Porsche, well, it started near the back of the grid. I can assure you now it will be at the back of the grid. That was, whether that was an assist, I can't imagine you get that far off the racetrack. Back, Drudy's coming back around the outside, up at Hawthorns, and shuts the door. Make sure Dries Van Thor knows that I should have been in second place coming out of let's say, Graham Hill Bend up into Surtees.
It was Patrick Niederhauser in the Porsche then off the road, and Maxi Goetz did not start the race. He came into the pit lane, so number 9 Mercedes in problems for sure, and it's in danger of dropping a lap. So this all of a sudden has taken one of the favourites, not just for the races this weekend, pre-event, but the championship too, right out of contention. Leaders coming up to the end of the opening lap then, and Ben Green has done a really good job for the first lap to hang on in there in the Ferrari. In second place is Matteo Drudi, and Ben benefiting from the squabbling by opening the margin a little bit. That is the Mercedes. We understand it's an engine-related problem.
Potential pass coming up. Max Hoffer under threat from Tom Gamble. Hoffer shut the door, and now that Gamble has made that overtake up into Paddock Hill Bend, so clearly the McLaren running more quickly than the Audi, and it was just more a matter of if than when. There's the start. Great start from Ben Green, but look on the right-hand side, getting closer, closer, closer. On the inside line, up into Paddock Hill Bend. Dries van Voor gets the job done, he thinks. But look, the Aston Martin hangs in and manages to get marginally ahead. But then the BMW's right up the rear of the Ferrari. This is where we see Matteo Drudi being forced, unintentionally so, by Ben Green, wide.
It's a good little battle going on there. Look, Audi versus Ferrari, diving down towards Westfield, and that is Ivan Klimenko keeping Sean Hudspeth at bay for 17th overall, and they're both in the Silver Cup. In fact, they're arguing for 4th in silver, as there, Rhys Barr makes his move and goes ahead of Paul Everard.
That was a good pass. He got into position in Dingledale and got up alongside just at the point of entry into Sheen and made them. That was a good pass. That's an ideal opportunity. Doing it, that's not easy.
Now, Vantor has been ahead briefly, but he's looking ever so menacing now. Drudi is going to have to work hard, and look, he's hanging it out over the curb. The pressure is on as Vantor goes to the outside line. That is Nicholas Bart looking on. The outside line into Clark Curve surely ain't going to work, but now Vantor wants that switch back. Is there a gap? Is there a gap? Is there a gap? Yes, yes, yes! Side by side coming over the timing line, and he's got the job done well before Paddock Hill Bend. Great move.
I mean, a classic overtake. All started on the exit of Stirling's, and he started to do the work over coming into Clearways and Clark, and then the switch back. The BMW was clearly quicker on the exit, we could see that, and that was an easy overtake in relative terms. Matteo Drudi was sort of hung out to dry because his exit out of Clark Curve just didn't have the pace of the BMW, and he's had to concede. And now the focus for Dries van Voor is, how can I run down that 2.8 second gap between myself, Ben Green and the lead Ferrari. Ben Green's had the drive of a weekend, nobody around him, lovely sunny day, he's just enjoying himself.
2.8 seconds, though, is a lot to claw back, isn't it? And bear in mind that we're working our way through this first stint. Now, further back in the queue, Tom Gamble is trying to recover from that lost ground earlier on, but the McLaren chases after number 30 of Callum Williams, so that puts Tom Gamble 12th, and he is picking his way back up the order. Patrick Niederhauser, after his big grassy moment, had to catch up again, first of all, but he's now got past James Jakes. Let's hear.
So we now have 3 warnings in T3. No risk T3. No risk T3. Can't have any more. No risk. Is there a new because I don't think I've done it 3 times. We'll have a look.
Now T3.
No risk at all. No risk at all.
T3 is Graham Hill Bend. And that is Engel, who's been off the road at Paddock. So Mauro Engel has run wide. You can see all the gravel all over the tyres. Suddenly he's been caught by Leggeret. So Mauro Engel making a small mistake at Paddock Hill Bend.
Totally unexpected in my view. I don't know what he did wrong. We'd like to see maybe a bit more of that. What happened coming into Paddock Hill there. Oh, he's way, way wide on the entry. How he got away out there, I have no idea. That's not the line you would normally expect to take under these circumstances.
Here, look, Dries van Voor continues to push on. He's 2.7 seconds back. He's wide at Hawthorne. I was going to say, we know how good WRT can be on pit stops, though.
Yes, that may be the strength overall. But Dries van Voor, I mean, he's just pushing absolutely to the limit of what the BMW is going to give him. He's got that gap down first to second to 2.7 seconds. It's going to come down by maybe hundredths of seconds over the next remaining laps prior to the pit lane window opening up. And then Charles Vetch will get in behind the wheel. But look at going back up to the exit of Sheen Curve. How much more can you run without getting off onto the grass? I mean, what an image. I mean, four-wheel drift. When did we last see that? Laying black lines. Look at those black lines. That's right foot nailed to the firewall on the BMW.
And he was on the edge here as well, wasn't he? Super Slow Joe, our cameraman at Stirling's, capturing these images and doing a great job. And you can see how much commitment is in this from Van Voor.
I would ask, WRT, are you running traction control at all? Because those black lines, if you have traction control, ought not to be there.
Ben Green leader is in, and you can expect Dries van Voor in behind him. Now, Is an Emil Frey Racing pit stop as good or better than a WRT pit stop? You're about to find out, and this is going to be critical. Now look, the gap when they came through last time, 2 seconds. Look what it is coming into the pit lane. Vanthor braking so much later than Green there. He's clawed back most of the time on that alone.
Yes, I mean, this is part of the skill of understanding how you do your pit stop strategy. So Dries van Voor out. Charles Weerts gets in, waiting to see where the Ferrari is. They were fractionally, maybe a couple of seconds ahead of the BMW in that pit stop, so Constant Lapalina is in behind the wheel, but you have to imagine, and is that a problem? Who's standing by the driver's door? There is our race leader, by the way, Matteo Drudi. The Ferrari is rolling. Oh, BMW have got it done.
They've got the lead, so there you go on the pit stops. The BMW jumps ahead after all of Ben Green's work. Charles Weerts comes out ahead, and a fantastic effort. Matthew Drudi leads on the road, but there, number 32, BMW now. Charles Weerts, 41.7 seconds, 43.6 for Emil Frey Racing. I asked the question before the pit stop. Is it as good as WRT? No, it isn't. So there's going to be a real jumble of the order for the next few laps whilst these pit stops all cycle through. So we've had a drama there. Somebody's been off the road at Paddock and demolished the corner marker at Druids. We'll try and work out who that is, but certainly dramas at Paddock Hill Bend.
Yes, let's have a look and see who is it. Oh, on the outside. See, that's the Ferrari,
yeah.
And I can't believe it, the 99, that's Riccardo Feller.
Yeah, Feller did it first, Vermeulen followed him, and this was how Vermeulen saw it.
Yeah, well, in the case of Feller, it was a snap oversteer, and the counter-steering, the car then just stepped sideways.
Right, Drudi is in, there he is, look to give way to Nicolas Bart. There's a yellow flag out in Sector 1. Possibly a legacy of that debris on the racetrack. And here is Charles Weerts, and he's going to get the lead back, and up into second goes Lapalainen. So number 7 Aston Martin, there it is in the background, falls back into third place, which is where it was before the pit stops. And then Lucas Auer is going to be closer.
Interestingly, lead and second place, 2 Irish drivers, one from the north, one from the south.
Eastwood
Don't often see that in a race.
No, it's true. Charlie Eastwood ahead of Reese Barr. I hate to ruin this by saying that's because they get to stop.
Don't say it.
But you're right. You're right. For the moment they are. And there, look, the marker board that was demolished at Paddock up to Druids has been caught by Nicolas Bart's Aston. That's going to do a power of no good to the cooling of the Aston Martin, look, because it's effectively choking it off. It's like wearing a face mask now. You can't really breathe through the front of the car. So the pace is ebbing away from the Aston, and you can see how much closer Lucas Auer is getting.
Well, that's never a good thing. I mean, virtually all the air intakes, that's not just to the engine, but to the cooling and the brakes as well. So that's, that's what's happened. It happened on the exit of Stirling's. We thought it was jumping up into Druids. It's happened on the exit of Stirling's. That's why he's carrying around chunks of polystyrene in the front of the car. Is he coming in? I think he thought about it. He certainly backed off and allowed the Mercedes to go through, and maybe he just missed the pit lane entry.
Or the dials have suddenly gone off the clock because that car has kind of gone into limp home mode, and I rather fear that the car has overheated to the degree now that Nicolas Bart is just going to have to limp round. But you're right, that would have been the ideal time to come into the pit lane. So that puts Lucas Auer up into third place.
I'll tell you what, MSV, who run Brands Hatch, are going to look at their bank accounts and think, where is all our polystyrene, the corner markers? Where have they gone? Well, there they are. Some is pulling off. That's sad. That is really sad.
And that surely is overheating. And we are going to go full course yellow in 10 seconds. That's to get the Aston out of the way. And there, some slow before others. Number 6 there, Luca Engschler, he's just on the pit stops, got into the lead of the Gold Cup. We've had a change for the lead of Gold. He's moved ahead of 111, Simon Gachet at the wheel of it. And there is the number 6 Audi. New to the championship, the team of Nicky Molly Engschler with the One Group Engineering, Ron Hartveldt's company. And their aim for the weekend, when we asked Ron Hartveldt yesterday, I said, are you after a position, or what's the aim of the weekend? He said, respect. We want to prove that we deserve to be here.
And I think, based on the performance right now in live time, they're earning that.
Absolutely. They're winning the class. I mean, what better debut? Fantastic effort. Luca Engschler coming here on the back of a DTM win last week. Now, this is how all of that polystyrene arrived on the circuit. So have a look. Where's the Aston? There's the Aston. Boom, absolutely demolishes that board. So that was Nicolas Bart, who very nearly had to pay to get back on the racetrack, didn't he? But all the hoarding is absolutely demolished. So the green flag is ready at the start line. The green flags are being waved. You can't overtake until you get to the timing line. But it is blast off, and a good restart by Charles Weerts. But is it a good enough restart by Constant Lapalainen to try to close that gap back in the first sector of the lap? We're racing again with just over 16 minutes on the clock as they head up towards turn 1. Lucas Auer thrown this lifeline. He has got to get through the traffic here.
So on board with the Ferrari, and that's a battle that's going on, just as I said, for 4th, 5th and 6th place. So Vermeulen up the inside, trying to get onto the back of Lucas Auer's Mercedes, and contact between the Ferrari and the Audi, and the Ferrari's been almost forced wide and has it lost the position?
I think it has. So Vermeulen losing out to Ricardo Feller. There he is on the inside line. Look, Ricardo Feller goes by. Winner here last year.
Well, Ricardo Feller ain't going to be any walk in the park to get back on terms with, because he does currently have the fastest lap of the race.
True enough. And don't forget, this safety car period has been a real kick in the you-know-whats for number 69 Ferrari because of that 5-second penalty to add at the end of the race. With everybody bunched up, 5 seconds are going to drop you further.
Oh, I know. It's just compounds upon itself.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about compounding in time. Up the inside to defend. So the 21 Aston Martin is more. So it's all a bit sort of squeaky, you know what, up the inside into Sheen. Aston, big hung out to drive out the 69 Ferrari. And wow, it's messy. Lucas Auer, oh, wow, what a goodness, bodywork coming off the rear of the Aston as it ran wide over the exit of Sterling's.
Mathis Lismont with a bit of hip and shoulder being forced out of the way. You saw Benjamin Goethe making his way through on the traffic as well. So Charles Weerts comes across the line, the race leader. Half a second to the good. That's Lucas Auer going through in third place. Fourth, fifth, sixth. Next in the queue, Ferrari, Feller, Vermeulen. And a big send on the inside there. Look by. Maxime Martin gets up past his teammate Sam de Haan. WRT, BMWs both. That was a change for 10th place. And change for 11th imminent as well, because Luca Enschler on the inside line. The Licky Moly Audi goes through.
Yeah, and Simon Gachet likewise trying to slip behind, or slip ahead of the BMW. Enschler did a good job. I mean, I'm very impressed with the way that the Audi right now, Enschler, number 6 of that team, has done.
Feller to the inside of his teammate, contact, and that's Lorenzo Ferrari being tagged off the racetrack into the gravel. Has he got the momentum to get out the other side? Go on, dig, dig, dig. He is going to just about make it, but Lorenzo Ferrari tumbles down the order.
That was pretty brutal.
That's one description.
You know, teammate upon teammate's one thing. I mean, you might do it with the opposition, but doing it on your own teammate, okay, sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do, and that was a case of Ricardo Feller. Sorry, mate, I need to get ahead. I'm quicker than you.
Yeah, but like you say, on your teammate, you can imagine at Attempter, that'll go down like a broken lift, won't it? Right, this is the replay of the move.
I wonder will that be observed by the steward, because you could see clearly, I mean, that was a very forced entry into Surtees by Ricardo Feller, and arguably he wasn't sufficiently alongside the sister car to claim that corner. There we go on board. Ricardo Feller lobs it down the inside. Then the door's closed and I'm stuck there. I've nowhere to go. Contact. I wonder will that be observed?
I think you're probably right. I don't think we've heard the last of that.
Oh dear me. Porsche up the inside.
Yeah, that was Muller getting involved with Hugo Kirk in the silver Audi. He's gone by, but it all got a bit leery. Now Magnus Gustafsson in the white Mercedes comes through as well. So Hugo Cook, the man from Northwich near Alton Park, got a bit roughed up there, didn't he?
He did. Just to go back, Ricardo Feller, who managed to, by dint of being a bit of a bully, up the inside into Surtees, he's in 4th position. His teammate demoted all the way down to 20th. That's the penalty that has been inflicted upon the 88 Audi, the sister car to the car that is currently in 4th at 99.
There's quite a good battle going on here, not to be last. Whoops, big slide by the Aston. I was going to say it is between Marcus Pavrud and Mathis Lismont. Now look at this. This is Maxime Martin on his toes. As up the inside line there goes Benjamin Goethe. That's for 6th overall. Goethe goes ahead of César Gazot, who keeps his class lead, and Martin has cleared Compact.
And that's a car, Garage 59, McLaren, that was a car that also opening lap was elbowed out on the bottom of Graham Hill Bend. That's gradually driving its way back up into 6th place. Could have been a contender, certainly for a podium, had that contact not occurred on the opening lap. On board with the McLaren. So
this is the
let's
replay of the move.
have a little look and catching. Pulls out, gets alongside, gets the high ground on the entry into Hawthorns. All of a sudden, that was a sort of a no-brainer.
Oh, off in the gravel at paddock, Mathis Lismont. We've got 8 minutes on the clock. That's going to have to be a full course yellow to get the car out of the way. This might even mean we go to the end under safety car, because that might take a few minutes.
I think it was that car we saw coming out of Graham Hill Bend a lap early that looked well off the pace, but that you can see well and truly off the line coming into Paddock Bend. Got back onto the black stuff, but just the momentum carried it into the gravel.
Safety car in at the end of this lap. Charles Weerts is about to pull the pin. Let's quickly hear 32's radio traffic.
Yes, you would have to slow it down by 10 seconds, but you can only do that once the safety car lights are out and you control the pack. You need to slow it down by 10 seconds to take away a lap.
And by slowing it down by 10 seconds, that means there'll be just one more lap of the race. So they've worked out that he only has to defend for one lap, not two.
And again, look, that's why this team wins races.
Yeah.
They have worked it out. They've got a strategic team base. There he goes. Plug out. And where's the Ferrari? Well, not a bad start, but Lucas Auer actually did a better job, I think, than Lapalainen did in restarting. And in fourth place, Riccardo Fella, but it's a potential opportunity, Lucas Auer, to take or steal that second place from Costa Lapalainen.
Totally agree. So brilliant restart by Charles Witt. Great teamwork by WRT to work out how to lose a lap out of the race, if you like, and therefore have less time to have to defend that lead.
10 seconds to car 90 for speeding in the pit lane.
Mad Panda.
Time
Mad
penalty,
Panda,
5 seconds to car 99 speeding in the pit lane.
And 99 is Riccardo Fella. So one penalty for the pit lane. There might be another one for on the track. Right, this is Fella. He's on the back of Auer. And Lapalainen, I will offer you, is having a red-hot go at the leader because the gap is coming down a little bit, but I do feel Lapalainen may well run out of time here. Charles Witt's controlling the pace up towards the end. This is going to be another demon race, seemingly, for WRT. It was a lean year last year. This is looking pretty good. It would be a 17th sprint win for Dries Van Thor and a 14th for Charles Witt, if this comes to pass.
Well, it's all on Charles Witt's hands. He's got, what, 3 corners to navigate, and then it'll be the checkered flag, so up over Sheen Curve. But if the Ferrari has closed up in that sort of third of the 3 final corners, but no, it's not as Charles Witt's race. And Lapalainen has done a great job. It's now Riccardo Fella again too far behind Lucas Auer in the Mercedes in 3rd place. So there, nothing gained, nothing lost.
Checkered flag at the ready. The first race of the Sprint Cup season, won by BMW, by WRT, by Dries Van Thor and Charles Witt. They win at Brands Hatch ahead of Consta Lapalainen and Ben Green. Lucas Auer takes 3rd with Mauro Engel, and then there'll be some shuffling behind because the order they come across the line in has got a few penalties to apply. I think the big winners on the penalties are going to be Benjamin Goethe and Tom Gamble. They'll be up to 4th, and Ben Green happy with 2nd, but thinking, if only, if only, if only. So near and yet so far from a race win. Well, 2 very happy drivers then, Charles Witt and Dries Van Thor. Let's go to the pit lane in a moment because Antonia Rankin is down there. She's got Charles, she's got Dries, and they are our first Sprint Cup race winners of 2024.
Guys, congratulations for starters. What an excellent show of teamwork. I mean, stolen in the first and then solidified in the second. You must be over the moon.
Yeah, very, very happy. I mean, as we know, pit stop are critical here in sprint. And once again, this victory is, of course, thanks to a great qualifying from Dries, but also thanks to an amazing job from the guys in the pit stop to jump the Ferrari, because they were also very quick, as we could see. And I think it would have been difficult to overtake them on track, to be honest. So this victory is really thanks to them. We still have 1 race to go this afternoon, so it's a great first part of the weekend, let's say.
Dries, was there any moment watching those restarts after the safety car where you were sweating watching from the pit lane?
No, I mean, I know Charles is used to those things, to those restarts. So no, he did well. For sure, it's not always. I mean, it's always much more relaxing if we can just go to the end without any safety car. But he did well. So the last one we just had to time a bit right to just only have 1 lap, but he did that well. So nothing to add.
Well, congratulations. Enjoy your moment, guys.
Right, penalties to be applied, and once that has been done, a race order that is provisionally like this. Dries Van Thor and Charles Witt win by 0.6 of a second from Ben Green and Consta Lapalainen. Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer taking 3rd from Tom Gamble and Benjamin Goethe. Good recovery that, ahead of Aurelien Panis and Cesar Gazzo, your silver winners. And then the gold winners are 6th, Max Hofer and Luca Engstler. Callum Williams and Sam DeHaan 7th from Leggeret and Gachet. Fleming and Dono and Arca and Fella 10th in the end with their penalty. Trophies go to our 2nd crew, already in hand of the 3rd, and then it can go to the team and then to the winning drivers. But that is, in a sense, a throwback to 2 years ago, and that kind of dominance in Sprint Cup of Witt, Van Thor, WRT. The grid for race 2 is formed. It's a little bit cloudier, it's a little bit cooler than it was earlier on in the day, but with a very different looking grid based on the qualifying session for the separate driver, the driver that actually finished that previous race. Anything could happen in this. I very much doubt we're going to get the same race winner, that's for sure, because BMW number 32 starting a bit further back on the grid. Track temperature 22.9 degrees. Brands Hatch is busy, and for the only international sports car race in the UK these days. The Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup, attracting lots of attention. Everywhere you look, it seems, around here there are delectable sports cars, whether they're racing, modern supercars, or classic sports cars that are racing as well. It really is sports car heaven. And if you're a Mercedes AMG fan, well, the front row is for you. Lucas Auer on pole, Jules Gounod lining up second on the grid, and John Watson, Jules Gounod, Maxi Goetz, the two drivers, they've had a pretty difficult day with a whole litany of dramas to try to sort for race 2.
Yes, David, frankly, I don't know where to start, because obviously the car went out on this exploratory lap for race 1 this morning, and it didn't even start the race. And as you have a quick look at the circuit map, let's go through that quickly. The tracker is trying to beat me as it ever always does. 3.9 kilometers, 2.4 miles, 9 turns, and up and down over the lovely hills and vales of the county of Kent. But anyway, back to the number 9 Mercedes, and I mean, a litany of issues. We've changed the power box, the loom main switches, still issues. They've now changed the lambda, injectors, spark plugs, and they don't even know whether they're going to be able to start this race.
Well, fingers crossed for them. We'll try to go down to the grid in a moment. Antonio Rankin is down there, and Gilles Magnus and Paul Everard are the drivers of the Santa Lot number 25 Audi. Let's hear from them first up.
Guys, starting first in your class, having finished third in the race before, what are you going to make sure, how are you going to make sure that you're going to stay first?
Defend. I guess that's a way to stay first. No, we saw that overtaking was very tough in race 1. Paul had an unfortunate moment in his quali, so due to that we started a bit further back. And then I think we both had the pace, but we just couldn't use it. So now starting a bit more to the front will definitely help. And hopefully I can give him the car in first position, and then it's up to him to keep the rest behind.
Of course, now the track's cooled down quite a bit since this morning. Do you think that the car will be as good?
Oh, for me, the car was good this morning, and it was good. I hope it was good this afternoon, but I did a little mistake in Q1 yesterday, and the race run was really difficult. But today, Gilles started in pole position, sorry, and I hope we finish in this position for beginning the championships.
Brilliant. Best of luck, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gilles Magnus then with Paul Everard, and that's the Audi that Gilles will start. Very accomplished touring car racer as well as GT gun. Looked after by Rob Huff's management stable these days, and Gilles Magnus, having raced against Rob now, trying to advance his career in GT racing, and will be a man to watch in the early laps of the race. The grid, very, very busy indeed. The grid walk going on. Teams are down there, drivers are down there. Our cameras are down there as well. It's an all Mercedes AMG front row. It is Ferrari and McLaren on row 2. It is Audi and Ferrari on row 3. And a really good first race, which, as we've seen before, hinged on good pit stops. Now, Tom Fleming, the British driver, had an off in free practice, but his Ferrari is on the silver pole, thanks to Eliseo O'Donnell. Let's hear the thoughts of the British driver, Tom Fleming.
Tom, congratulations starting from pole in your class, and your nearest competition's quite a bit further back.
Yeah, and I think they were 8 position back roughly, which, you know, round here where overtaking is extremely difficult, it's gonna play into our hands quite a bit. It means that we can take a little bit of margin going into the pit stops and throughout the race. We're not fighting these pro guys for the overall victory, of course, which would be nice. You never know. It would be good if all of them crashed at the first corner. But no, Donna put in a really good lap yesterday in the second qualifying session. It was a bit of a shame for my qualifying session. A decently, a miscalculation with the tyre pressures really ruined our race, or ruined my qualifying session. And you know, in a championship as competitive as this, those small margins really make quite a big difference. But I'm really happy that we're starting in the top 3 rows. I think we have a little bit of a trouble on the car, but we'll see if we can fix that. But yeah, it's looking good for a win, touch wood, but you never know in these types of races.
Well, it looks like you've got pace. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So, question mark over the Ferrari then. A little bit of a problem, says Tom Fleming, but leaves it at that. Let's keep our fingers crossed that it's nothing too serious.
Well, actually, yesterday, Tom entertained us royally because he gave the grass out at Westfield what you'd call a #1 haircut, because he went off, ran wide. The grass was very wet from the rain on Friday, and eventually got the car back on track, having just about kissed the tyre bales and got it back. So clearly there's some small issues, that the team are going to work through. Hopefully they will get those resolved before this race gets underway. But, you know, a great effort indeed by the Ferrari team.
So there, the grid starting to be cleared, and at the 1 minute board, engines will fire. The last engineer will then leave the grid, and we will be ready to go. That is the Ferrari we've just been talking about. Eliseo Dono, the man behind the wheel of it, last year's Ferrari Europe champion, and has looked really impressive this weekend, bearing in mind he doesn't know GT3 machinery nor Brands Hatch. And Tom Fleming was the runner-up to him in the championship and beat him in the Ferrari Mondiale, the Ferrari World Finals last year. So they're a really good mix of driver, and very competitive, very evenly matched. Right, Jules Gounon, he is on the grid. The car is there. What are the chances?
Jules, you're very snug in your car there. Have all of the issues from earlier been fixed?
Yeah, well, we hope so. This morning we had some issue yesterday with the car. We thought we fixed it. We didn't this morning, and we hope now we did. So the team worked flat out, heads off to Boutsen to try to fix the issue with AMG, and we changed a lot of parts, so we are crossing fingers that it's the correct ones.
Absolutely, fingers crossed. Good luck.
Well, Jules Gounon from the outside of the front row. They've got to score well in this because they're already one race down as far as the championship is concerned. And when it's this competitive, you can't afford to throw away points.
No, that was always going to be a very competitive car, and to not have a chance to even get to do a flying lap, as it were, then hopefully they got those issues resolved, and that car, will driven by Jules Gounon initially, will challenge for the lead off the line when the lights go green.
Now, what about the car alongside? Lucas Auer will start it, and at the pit stops, it'll be given over to Maro Engel.
Maro, it was P3 in race 1. Is it going to be P1 in race 2?
We hope so. Obviously, Lucas did a great job in qualifying, and best starting position is definitely where you want to be here in Brands Hatch. Overtaking is difficult, so hopefully we can get a clean, good start, and yeah, the aim is to win the race.
Is it quite a tricky track? A lot of the drivers have been saying it's a lot of challenges this weekend.
Yeah, for sure, it is challenging, and well, I caught myself out in turn 1 on one lap as well. Definitely, it's not easy track conditions, but you know, I mean, it's the same for everyone, so we all have to deal with it.
Absolutely. Best of luck. Thank you.
You can't not like Maro Engel, can you? He's not only a great character and a very, very good driver, but he's disarmingly honest and you know, made a mistake, holds his hand up, doesn't blame anything else.
It's better to put your hand up and say, I made a mistake going into Paddock Bend, before Antonia nails him and said, you blew it going into Paddock Bend. What did you do wrong? So puts his hand up and said, we saw it live as it happened, and I don't know why he ran wide. We saw another angle, one of the Astons, do something very similar later in the race. Again, running way, way wide on the entry. And of course, Paddock Bend is one of those difficult corners where you don't really see the apex until you get to the top of the hill, and then there it is. But a driver of Maro Engel's experience, it was a most unusual incident to see that car run off, and it went through the gravel trap, eventually got back on again. But Maro thought, well, hope nobody was watching me doing that one.
Well, there is his car, and Lucas Auer, the man behind the wheel of it, and he will be determined to try to get away at the start and build a gap over Jules Gounon, who still must go into this with a little bit of a question mark over whether all of the mechanical woes, the transmission-related woes, are fixed, and you'll only really know on that formation lap.
Well, they've done a lap to get onto the pit, so there must be some information being fed back to the team. They must have some degree of confidence that they've rectified the issues. I mean, they've changed virtually every electronic part, and some of the parts, you know, that outside of the electrics, that they've done everything other than take the actual power unit out of the car and all the bits attached to it and replace it. So they believe they've got the car now working. But of course, it's a big ask. They don't know until they start this race whether the car actually will be running at the level that one would expect a Mercedes-AMG GT3 to do. And
number 7, Aston Martin, that retired with overheating issues in the first race, having tried to ingest a marker board that is on the grid. Nicolas Bart will start it. Mathis Liesmont's car out of the gravel. That's at the back of the grid, ready to go as well.
Yes, I think it's important to point out when Nicolas Bart went wide coming out of Sterling's, the actual marker, the corner marker on the exit, was about 40 feet off the racetrack. And ordinarily, the only thing that gets that far off a racetrack is a recovery vehicle. But anyway, the Aston got there, demolished the sign, which made some of the best television. I think the slow-mo of that just exploding into about 1,000 parts. Anyway, let's move on. We're not going to have any more of that, thankfully, in this race.
It was dramatic, but there's drama set to come of a different sort, no doubt, in race 2. 15 seconds and counting to the start of the formation lap. The lead car, the Lamborghini Huracan, accelerates away. The green flag is dropped, and that means that Lucas Auer gets away. There is Jules Gounon then, moving to Boutsen VDS this year. Rubber laid on the ground then. 11's put on the road by Thierry Vermeulen, who copped a time penalty, or that car did, in the first race for Giacomo Altway, causing a collision on the opening lap of the race against this car that again will line up alongside it. Benjamin Goethe will be the man behind the wheel, and he will start fourth for Garage 59. Let's look at the grid then as the cars work their way on this formation lap. Lucas Auer for the Winward Racing Team Man Filter starts on pole position, and for Boots and VDS, Jules Gounon, the Andorran-based Frenchman, lines up second ahead of Thierry Vermeulen and Benjamin Goethe at fourth. Fifth, one of the two reigning champions, Ricardo Feller, who won it last year with Mathieu Drudi, and Eliseo Dono. Silver pole lining up alongside. Then it's Constant Lapalainen second in race one. Gilles Magnus gold pole is next. Sven Muller's Porsche ninth. And the race one winners, Charles Weerts, Dries van Voor, his co-driver 10th, ahead of Maxime Martin with Valentino Rossi. And Lorenzo Ferrari is going to start from 12th. 13th is the race one gold winning Audi. Luca Engschler starts it alongside Charles Clark, and ahead of the silver winners of race one, Cesar Gauzo will go first in Mercedes number 10. Then it's Hugo Cook ahead of Sam Dehaan and Simon Gachet. Ezequiel Perez Compact starts the Mad Panda Mercedes, this time alongside Nicholas Bart. Then it is Jeff Machiels and Magnus Gustafsson ahead of Marcus Paverud, who goes solo, given that James Kell was taken ill yesterday in kart drive. Salo Joruc will be alongside him, and Mathis Lissemont, adapting from 2 wheels to 4, starts at the back of the grid for ComTU Racing. 25 cars then set to do battle. What you need to know is it's a 60-minute race, not a number of laps. There's a pit window between 25 and 35 minutes, and it is a stellar entry once again.
Yes, and of course the big question mark will be not just the car we're riding on, that's the McLaren. In fact, I spoke to the team after the race. In that incident in turn 3 on the opening lap, they got a lot of damage to the rear diffuser on the McLaren, which was when the 69 Ferrari sort of elbowed its way in. But not just that, they had some damage to the front splitter as well, so they had to change the splitter and obviously remove and replace the rear diffuser. So that car will be back up to pace. It ran strongly, in fact, having recovered, and they did a very good job to get through what they did in race one earlier this morning.
There, number 99, Ricardo Feller, who picked up a penalty also for speeding in the pit lane, in fact, in the first race. But a very quick driver, we know, is Ricardo Feller. Ruthless he was against his teammate, Lorenzo Ferrari, in the opener. And so we're ready to go for race 2 of the season then, in the Sprint Cup, which will be in action again in 2 weeks' time at Misano, all building up to late June when we go to the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, very different sort of GT3 race. Maro Engel in the pit box at Winward Racing looks on, and he wants to see his car come out of Paddock Hill Bend ahead. Equally, Maxi Goertz will look on from a different pit box and want his car in the hands of Jules Gounon to come out of Paddock Hill Bend ahead. Let's see which Mercedes is the stronger. What's going to happen for third as well in that battle between Thierry Vermeulen and Benjamin Goethe. Then you've got Ricardo Feller. He could be a man to watch on the opening lap because he's got sharp elbows when he needs them. Get set then, because race 2 is about to get underway then. The cars work their way out of Clark Curve. The lights on the gantry will change in a moment to get race 2 of Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup, underway. We go racing. Good start by Lucas Auer. Up the inside line, tries to go Vermeulen. To the outside line goes Goethe as they drop into paddock. It's going to be Auer ahead of Gounon. And third is Vermeulen. Goethe fourth. Feller is fifth as they climb the hill for the first time. Lucas Auer already just edging away a little bit. He's made a good start, and Jules Gounon's Mercedes doesn't quite look as though it's able to go with him at the moment, because look, the gap's widening at Graham Hill Bend.
Indeed it is. So Lucas Auer seemingly has got a significant advantage even in this 3 corners of this 2.4-mile circuit of Brands Hatch. Looking back, everybody's made it round the first 3 corners. Nobody off track, unlike we saw in the opening event this morning. And the McLaren and the Ferrari, who did come together in turn 3, have managed to stay apart halfway around the opening lap.
The Porsche's in the mix as well, isn't it? Because you've got Sven Muller up on the back of Constant Lapalainen, the very distinctive Porsche, not just the shape, but the fact that it's day-glow yellow and blue. There it is. Sven Muller goes through Hawthorne, and in the Silver Cup, Eliseo Dono leads. In gold, it's Gilles Magnus, and there you've got Magnus looking for a way by, just ahead of Maxime Martin. But a bit of contact, was there?
Yeah, a bit of bodywork. You saw a bit of the carbon fibre flick up as the car dropped the wheel off the exit of Hawthorne's Bend, so that, I mean, a minor bearing on how the car will handle.
The marker being attacked there on the inside of Sheen Curve. It's put there to stop people using too much of the inside of the corner. That's a track limit violation if you do it. And that bollard has certainly seen better days, but it's going to try and stand proud for another hour. Lucas Auer leads then as he comes through at the end of lap 1, with Jules Gounon chasing after him. Thierry Vermeulen is third. McLaren fourth. That's Goethe. Fifth, Audi. That's Feller. Sixth then across the timing line. Lapalainen's Ferrari. Up to seventh is Muller in the Porsche. Weerts only 12th. Struggling to make progress, and Luca Engschler ahead of him in the Audi. Look, goes defensive, hugs the inside line up to Druids, but it is not easy for Charles Weerts to make progress right now.
Now we know that the BMW needs a couple of laps to get the tire temperature, the tire pressures up to the operating window. Dries van Voor talked about that after race 1. nevertheless, he succeeded in doing so, but starting back in the 5th row of the grid as Charles Vetz is doing, he's embedded in this group of cars, both ahead and behind. So his progress is going to be dictated largely by that. Oh, wow. The Mercedes came off Surtees and snapped into a big oversteer.
So that would have been Cesar Gazo, and that's scattered the traffic around it. Woof. And Nico Perez Compact comes charging up the pack as well. That, I think, was Lorenzo Ferrari's Audi, wasn't it, that was the real victim out of all of that. Lost a whole heap of places. Charles Clark there goes through, number 12 Aston Martin. But Lucas Auer, it is leading the way and pulling away with absolute best in the sectors. Jules Gounon's car might be running, but it's not running as quickly as the similar one up the road of Auer. And Wirtz is now starting to get frustrated because he can't make progress, and for as long as he's stuck, it's even harder to catch the cars ahead once he could get past Engel because the gaps will have widened.
Yeah, I think one of the strengths though the BMW has enjoyed here at Brands Hatch is very good top speed, and particularly the quickest part of the racetrack down Hawthorne straight into Hawthorne Bend. BMW has been able to defend, but side by side, Winwood Racing, of course, almost contact. Watch the Audi just trying to sneak and use that undercut as they exit out of Paddock Bend, and the 57's coming up and not able to do very much, but just the Audi up the inside, contact between the two. Oh well, I mean that's certainly going to get the attention of the stewards, and that was fundamentally an unnecessary manoeuvre.
That was Hugo Cook in the Audi having a go at the Mercedes. And, yeah, you're right. Magnus Gustafsson is still stranded on the grass. He's backing the car onto the racetrack. I can just see out of our window as the race carries on. So yellow flag in sector 1, but we should be able to keep the race going without any interruption, but that'll get looked at, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, there was contact from the rear, and the car then was just basically driven round to go sideways onto the track. So, yes, that'll be one for the stewards to start their afternoon's vision of.
So this is Ricardo Feller, and ahead of him is Benjamin Goethe. This is 4th and 5th in Pro, and the Audi chasing after the McLaren that's had good pace around here. The McLaren was just the one in the entry, but it's been a quick one, that's for sure. Benjamin Goethe driving it at the moment through Clark Curve.
Yeah, if I was Benjamin Goethe and I saw the Audi closing on me, I'd be thinking, keep an eye on my mirror at all points, keep the other eye on the racetrack. And we've seen Ricardo Feller get past Lavalainen in the Ferrari, so that's a change of position. Gilles Magnus likewise has just moved forward. Dono in the Ferrari appears to have gone back 2 places from 8th all the way down to 10th.
Yes, good spot he has. He's kept his class lead, but you're right, he's lost track position. And Magnus Gustafsson has now fallen, as we've been saying, to the very back of the pack. Auer, though, is building this lead 3 laps in. He's 2.4 seconds away.
I mean, clearly there's something not correct in the boots at VDS. Number 9 Mercedes, Jules Gounon, is not a driver who would lose out on pace, but Lucas Auer did a really outstanding job in qualifying yesterday afternoon, and he's once again repeated that natural pace he's got. So he's got fastest race lap to date, 1 minute 24.9, and suddenly 2.5 seconds advantage over the second place Jules Gounon.
The cars then swoop once more out of Hawthorne. So that's Luca Engschler, who was the Gold Cup winner earlier on in the day. Behind is Charles Wirtz, the overall winner earlier on in the day. And the Audi looking good once more. It's currently running second in gold behind the similar car of Gilles Magnus, a little bit further up the road. And Wirtz, look, on the lights, trying to force an error out of the Audi of Luca Engschler, because certainly it's not a flash of the lights that's going to prompt him to pull over and let the BMW through.
So leader comes across the line. It was 2.4 seconds. Waiting to see what's gone up. Clearly gone up. 3 seconds, so the best part of 0.6 of a second advantage to the 48 Mercedes Lucas Auer, and that's not good news for Jules Gounon and the number 9.
So you're quite right, fastest lap of the race for Auer. But what's interesting is that although Gounon clearly hasn't got the pace of the leader, he's got better pace than Vermeulen, because he's not fallen into the clutches, has he? He's maintaining a margin of just under a second over the Ferrari. Here's Ricardo Feller, still 5th, and he still can't get quite close enough to have a go at that McLaren.
Well, it'll not be for the lack of trying on the part of Ricardo Feller. He was absolutely ruthless as his own teammate in race 1 this morning. And it was a bit like a snooker ball, came into Surtees, pinged him on the left rear, and the sister Audi popped off the racetrack to the right and had to make a long way back through the gravel trap to get back onto the circuit.
So at the moment, in terms of outright speed, Sam de Haan, 245 kilometres an hour, is the bravest, ahead of Lorenzo Ferrari, Maxime Martin, then Charles Wirtz, and then Charles Clark. So BMWs and Audis, the cars with the Aston Martin, the 5th of those to have.
Sort of consolidating the view that some of the teams in the pit lane have had, that the straight line performance of the BMWs here at Brands Hatch has been hard to challenge. I think that was the way they summed it up. Didn't use those particular words, but that was the intent.
Lucas Auer, 2 purples in the sectors, and his last lap is yet another fastest in the race at 1:23.8. So Lucas Auer nearly 4 seconds up the road from Gounon now, but still, as I say, Jules is not under attack. He might not be on the tail of the leader, but he's not having to defend from Vermeulen.
You can see the Ferrari closing as they come up. So looking back now at the battle, Ricardo Feller still trying to get on terms with Benjamin Goethe in the 4th place McLaren, coming along Cooper Straight, and then into Surtees. This is the point where Ricardo Feller tagged his own teammate in the earlier race today, and Charles Weerts just doesn't really look to the pace that car. We certainly saw more pace from him in the race one earlier this morning, and still lingering in 12th position, having started on 10th.
The incident between Hugo Cook and Magnus Gustafsson that we saw up at Druids, no investigation necessary, is the official wording. So there is Hugo Cook, and he presses on, unaffected. He's down in 24th spot. He's chasing after Salo Joluc there in the Ferrari, another car that runs in gold. And 12 is Charles Clark for Comptieu, and the Aston Martin out of the Belgian team is 15th, and he's chasing after Simon Gachet. Charles Clark's in the silvers, Gachet is gold. Charles Clark, who came out of British racing in the Porsche Sprint Challenge for the Cayman 718s, then went into GT4 and British GT and up to GT3 racing this year. His father used to race GT Vipers a while ago. Over the line they go.
Now Charles Clark is closing fractionally on Simon Gachet. So took a slightly wider line coming into Paddock Bend, not close enough to make a challenge up the hill into Druids. Will be easily defended by the Audi, but certainly the pace of the Ferrari, the Charles Clark behind the wheel, number 12, running in the silver category, is the pace is there, and Simon Gachet doesn't seem to be able to do very much to pull away.
Thierry Vermeulen is on the attack. He's done a personal best first sector in 3rd place as he tries to get onto the back of Gounon. There he goes, just through shot ahead of Goethe, Feller, and then Constable Lapalainen in 6th place. Witz is up into 11th as you look at Maxime Martin 9th. Let's hear the thoughts of Valentino Rossi before he takes over.
Felle, the car looks like it's really been struggling this weekend.
Yes, but yesterday we struggling a lot. This morning looks like that we improve a bit the setting, and we are a bit stronger in the pace. But here the race is very correlated from the position on the grid, because the track is very narrow and it is difficult to overtake. But anyway, we will see. Max is fast. He already recovered 2 positions. The race is long. Also the weather is so and so. So we hope that can remain dry for all the race, and I hope to be strong in my part of the race.
So when you get to your part of the race, how are you going to maximize your position?
Yeah. Will be very important, the strategy and also the time in the pit for change the driver, because here in the sprint is crucial, and after we will see.
Brilliant, thank you, best of luck.
It's interesting, Valentino says the track is very narrow. The track actually isn't narrow. What is different is everything is very close to the edge of the racetrack, and you can see the barriers, how close they are. On other modern circuits around the world where we go to, those barriers are 100 yards away from us. So that's, I think, it's a perception, not a reality.
He's also gone to a lot of newer circuits this year, because he's not just racing with us, he's racing in the World Endurance Championship. Having said all of that, any circuit's going to feel narrow with cars on it when you come from 2 wheels, isn't it? That's Lucas Auer, that's your race leader, and he's nearly 5 seconds to the good now, with the pit window opening after 25 minutes, and we've had really the first 10 completed. Jules Gounon 4.7 seconds back in the Mercedes Light, in a sense. It's clearly not as quick as this one.
No, the Lucas Auer has had a dream start. He's not been challenged at any stage, even into Paddock Bend on the opening lap. He just dominated the start, and look, the gap is going to be 5+ seconds when they come across the line, and they're going on to their 9th lap, so having completed 8. The gap between 2nd and 3rd is remaining actually relatively static at 1.1 seconds, so Thierry Vermeulen is unable to do anything good. Benjamin Goethe, directly behind the Ferrari, is now within half a second, so there's a potential challenge. More importantly, Ricardo Feller is only half a second behind the McLaren. So those 3 cars are going to get together very quickly, and that might be the most entertaining part of the race right now.
Alessio Dono here, coming under attack from Charles Weerts. So this is silver versus pro. It's 10th place they're arguing over outright. So the BMW there, towering over the low-line Ferrari, comes up towards Surtees. We know how quick that car is, the BMW, because it won early on in the day. But Charles Wirtz now, it's not just the circuit, of course, that has to be taken into account in the race order. It's the balanced performance, because everything has to try and equate the cars. So it is not that one has a huge advantage over the other. They're all designed to run at the same competitive pace.
Yes, and because we've got such a competitive field and the balance of performances level out the advantages and disadvantages, that when you get close to another car, your momentum is dictated by the car ahead of you. You get a line of cars and nobody can really make any move. It's like a sort of DSR train.
Yeah.
So everybody's stuck at the pace of the lead car of a train of cars.
Ricardo Feller out of Clark Curve up towards the timing line. He's still chasing after Goethe. And as he goes by, he's also mindful that Goethe wants to get onto the tail of Thierry Vermeulen, so a third, fourth, fifth battle is a possibility, but nobody's really being able to find an extra few tenths to really latch onto the back of the car ahead over the course of the lap. It happened there, but that was under braking for Goethe, so out of the corner, it starts to go back to the original gap.
I still feel of these three cars, as Ricardo Feller in the Audi is the one of any one of the three is going to make a move, it's going to be him. Because coming up into Druid, you could see him, he was certainly carrying a lot of speed. Of course, McLaren accelerates that a little bit sooner, so the gap reopens. But there is the gap. You can see how much Goethe has been, well, fractions of seconds in most cases, climbing into the advantage that the Ferrari has in third place. But it's the car behind the black and gold Audi of Ricardo Feller is the one I'm going to keep my eye on.
Up towards Westfield. So Thierry Vermeulen, you were riding with, looking back at Benjamin Goethe. They are concertinaing a little, aren't they? Feller is getting nearer to Goethe, who in turn, therefore, is trying to get even closer to Vermeulen and pull away from the Audi. So third, fourth, fifth, closing as they come through Sterling's. That ever so slightly back left-hander and a little twitch from the McLaren.
Possibly, and Feller following is watching that. And of course, he's thinking about where can I make a move. He's thinking 3 or maybe 4 corners around the racetrack, not necessarily at Sterling's. Not an easy corner to make a pass unless a car cedes that position. So coming along, top straight into Paddock Hill Bend. Feller is a little bit closer than he's been on previous occasions, but not close enough to make a meaningful lunge down the inside. But certainly, I mean, catching Benjamin Goethe's attention, he would like to be thinking forward to where I am in relation to the Ferrari. He's having to now focus more attention on what's going on behind him.
So there is Jules Gounon heading towards us. His last lap was a 24.7. He was still something like 8 thousandths quicker than Thierry Vermeulen. So even though we're getting worried about the relative pace of the Mercedes, perhaps what it really shows is just how quick Lucas Auer's car is, because Gounon's not struggling for second place, just can't match Lucas Auer. And you could argue that's as expected, given that Auer was quicker in the qualifying session yesterday.
Yes, the Winward Racing Team Manfilter Mercedes has given its full title AMG GT3 Evo. They've done an outstanding job, certainly in qualifying with Lucas Auer and taking control of the race. And I mean, it's their race to lose. Basically, they've got such an advantage over the rest of the field. Nearly 6 seconds now over second place Jules Gounon. And you'd have to imagine that the number 9 Mercedes, the Boots and VDS team, it's a consolidation more than an attack. If they can finish in second place, they'll take those points.
So again, look back from the Ferrari of Thierry Vermeulen, whose father, remember, is Max Verstappen's manager. That's kind of why the Red Bull colours come onto that car. Over the line, they have gone into Paddock Hill Bend. They now sweep, and Ricardo Feller at the back of this queue. And then in the distance, you'll see the 6th placed Ferrari. Teammates of the car you're riding on board with, and that's Consta Lapalainen, keeping Sven Muller 7th at bay. Gilles Magnus is 8th, Maxime Martin is 9th, and heading silver 10th, Eliseo O'Donnell. Back on board with Feller then. This is Graham Hill Bend. Goethe to the eye, looking a bit nearer on Cooper Straight.
Yes, he is. He's managed to draw away a little bit from Ricardo Feller, and he's now got his focus back on what's happening directly ahead of him. He thinks, I've got Feller in control, don't need to worry too much. I need to get on terms with the Ferrari directly ahead of me.
So they storm their way now down towards Hawthorne. Head into the corner, go through the right. Ben Green looking on. He was on pole position for race 1, finished 2nd in it. So 43 minutes of the race to go. We're getting a report that Hugo Cook has been out wide at Paddock Hill Bend but carried on in the race. He was in penultimate position anyway, ahead of his earlier adversary, Magnus Gustafsson. And this is that moment. This is Hugo Cook. That was it. A twitch mid-corner spears him off the road.
Yeah, the big problem with Paddock Hill Bend is if you get that snap oversteer, you steer into the slide. Of course, the car will then step sideways. And that's where the narrowness of this racetrack is very emphasised. There's not very much beyond the curbing, and that defines the circuit limits.
So there's Lucas Auer. Maro Engel, his co-driver, his teammate, really wants to be sprint champion. He's won the endurance and he's won lots of other titles. He's one of the absolute stars around Macau, but he's never won the Sprint Cup. Lucas Auer, who's been in and out of DTM, started off as a single-seater racer, got as far as the Formula 3 Euro Series, but look at that gap. If you want to know what 6 seconds looks like, that was it.
Well, I'll yawn. That's what it looks like. That is a lot of time gained. And Lucas Auer is just driving metronomically. He's not trying to pull away, just his own pace right now, more than sufficient to do that for him.
But yet, Gounon's lap times are still better, only by thousands, but still better than Vermeulen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a consolidatory race for the number 9 Mercedes, but nobody's got anything, no offer. The best opportunity, undoubtedly, is going to come when we do the round of pit stops, and it's going to be, what, 7 minutes the pit lane will be open, and then we will see what the respective teams can do, and that's where a lot of races at Brands Hatch previously have been won and lost.
So that closing up behind Benjamin Goethe is Ricardo Feller. But again, the Audi will push, it will get close, it will get in the dirty air and then struggle. So the weather, a number of teams now are perhaps telling their drivers, okay, get close to the car ahead so we can try and jump on the pit stops, because it's hard to do it on the track. The pit stops might be the best benefit. Of course, for the second stint, you've got a different driver in the car, different pace.
What we saw in race 1 was a lot of the lead cars came in at the earliest opportunity and changed over. You would have to think that the winning car from the sprint race this morning, the 32 BMW, will be in at the earliest opportunity. That car will be handed over to Dries van Thor. WRT will work their magic at the pit stop, get it back out again, and that's the opportunity that they really need. Wirtz is in the 11th position. That's not the car's natural position. It probably should be in the top 3. But because of the starting position, they haven't made progress. They've lost actually 2 positions initially. Now they've gained back 1.
And Ricardo Feller still frustrated because he cannot find, realistically, a way to get onto permanent terms with the McLaren. He closes and falls back, closes, falls back, but he's never able to get by. 6 seconds the lead gap, Auer to Gounon. Vermeulen is in 3rd. So you've got Mercedes AMG, Ferrari 3rd, McLaren 4th, Audi 5th, Ferrari 6th, Porsche 7th.
And part of the reason the McLaren is performing as it is because the team, as I mentioned at the head of the programme, did have to replace some of the aero parts on the car because of damage on the opening lap of race 1. And they've now got a car which Benjamin Goethe can use to its full extent. He's got the downforce working through the diffuser. The front splitter was replaced, so he's got a good car, a properly balanced car. Ricardo Feller, who I thought was going to be the threat to these 2 cars directly ahead, seems to be, he's run out of gas.
Closing up under braking then, bit of a twitch from the McLaren. Maxime Martin is up to 8th and Gilles Magnus is down to 9th. And a change for 10th as well, John.
So we've got Charles Wirtz has made progress. He's back to his start grid position. So let's continue the work. Gilles Magnus is in the gold category, so if Magnus is under threat, which he's about 0.8 of a second ahead of Wirtz, he could concede a position because he's fighting in his own class, whereas Wirtz is fighting for overall points in the lead class, in the pro class.
Downhill they swoop once more. This rather elasticated 3rd, 4th, 5th battle. Vermeulen, Goethe, Feller. Some parts of the circuit they're close, others are a bit further apart. And with 4 minutes to go, effectively, before the pit window opens, it may well be, as John was predicting, that some come in at the earliest opportunity to get out of the traffic. Now, on the previous lap, what was happening in Mercedes land?
Well, Jules Gounon went 1/10 of a second quicker than the race leader. Now, I suspect that's because the lead car is now running at a pace. It's got the advantage, and Jules Gounon's found a little bit more speed for whatever reason, and that's given him the opportunity to, well, the gap is 5.9 seconds, but it's keeping, more importantly, Vermeulen, Goethe and Feller, the next 3 up, controlling them as well.
He's just taken the best part of 3/10 out. So Jules Gounon is a little bit closer from 6.1. We are down now, what it was a couple of 3 laps ago, we're down to 5.7. So I can't believe Lucas Auer is backing off, but the lap time was in the 25s and Gounon was in the high 24s. So Jules Gounon is lapping faster, but there's no real reason that I can see that Auer would be going slower.
The only thing I could suggest is maybe the balance of the car has changed, because obviously depending on whether they started on new rubber or a used set of rubber, we're not aware of what the choice might have been. Yeah. So we know that this is an aggressive circuit on tires. We know that people are having to drive very hard indeed. So therefore, maybe, and we did hear from other drivers after race 1, that at the stint, they felt that I think it might have been one of the Ferrari drivers, not maybe Ben Green, suggested that I'd use all the grip I had.
Well, Lucas Auer, who's never had a Fanatec GT win, not an SRO race win, he leads. And Winwood Racing, of course, that steps up to Pro this year. It's had class victories, but never a Pro Cup, never an outright race win. So there are a lot of firsts possibly on the table. And one here for Eliseo O'Donnell as well, because he leads in silver and is clear of Cesar Gauzot at the moment. So it's looking good for the Ferrari as he comes down through Sterling's. That car has looked quick all weekend. Right, Auer has upped his pace again. He's just on a 1:24.8. And Jules Gounon comes across the line, also in the 24.8s, but fractionally slower. So things have kind of come back as they should have done for Lucas Auer. Here comes Weerts, has a go up on the outside line of Gilles Magnus. It's for position, even though it's gold versus pro, and Gilles Magnus fends him off.
I mean, why would you be surprised? Gilles Magnus is a mega in anything you put him in, and I mean, he's not going to concede to Charles Weerts, although they're battling in separate classes, but it's a matter of honour. I mean, are they both Belgian? I think they are.
That's right, yes indeed. So Audi versus BMW. Belgium versus Belgium. There's another Belgian driver up the road, isn't there? Because you've got Maxime Martin, who's all over the back of Sven Müller. So there goes Magnus, Audi, Weerts in the BMW. Sven Müller versus Maxime Martin further up the road. A minute and a half to the pit window opening as the BMW booms past. Lucas Auer leading the race outright by 5.8 seconds then, as the battle pack here for 9th place swoops downhill again. We are on lap 17 right now. And Lucas Auer, having done the fastest lap of the race, looking very convincing indeed. The pit window will not be open for the leaders at the end of this lap, but it will at the end of the next, because the leader is at Clark Curve, the last corner on the lap. And again, look, Weerts on the lights to try and distract Gilles Magnus ahead of him coming up to Sterling. So that don't work. So the BMW remains stuck behind the Audi. And a change there. Martin goes 7th at the expense of Sven Müller into clearways. That was good.
I mean, to make a pass into clearways, maybe Müller might have been a little bit slow out of Sterling's band, because ordinarily that's not an overtaking position. But if you can get it done as Maxime Martin did, so let's see what happened to the Porsche as they're coming into Sterling's. But the BMW right on the tail of the Porsche. Just Martin just had a better exit. I don't know whether the Porsche was slow on that lap, but certainly Martin had a great exit and gave him a momentum and got alongside. Now, if you're on the inside coming into clearways, you do have to concede, because there's too acute a turn to make on the inside line.
Just wonder whether the Porsche may not have been a little bit wayward coming out of Sterling's. You're right, the BMW got a better exit, but was the Porsche just struggling for traction a little? Possibly. But the net result, as we've seen, is that the BMW goes through. So Maxime Martin is at 1 place. That's the best of the BMWs, don't forget.
Yes, and unlike the first race this morning when BMW took the lead, pit window has been opened. So who is going to be first in? Is it going to be Lucas Auer? Is it going to be Jules Gounon, Vermeulen, Gotha, Feller? Well, there is our leader.
So we've done 25 minutes and Lucas Auer stays out.
Which is what I would do if I was running that team. I would stay out, because I've got such an advantage, and I've got clear air, and there's
Sally Yolok.
Yes, Sally Yolok indeed in the Ferrari coming out of that's Graham Hill Bend.
So he's back in the race. Right, into the pit lane has come Thierry Vermeulen and Benjamin Gotha. Lucas Auer perhaps trying to get to halfway, which would make it a half hour, wouldn't it, for number 48 Mercedes AMG before he gave it over to Maro Engel.
So keep an eye on Emile Frey, keep an eye on Garage 59 to see which of these two teams get the job done in the pit lane. Porsche in, Maxime Martin, so we just saw that overtake a lap earlier. So Valentino Rossi helps Maxime Martin exit from the BMW, and then Martin returns the compliment, helping assist with the seat belts being tied up, and the drinks bottle, the radio connections, the netting that is mandatory. Is it all in place? Valentino's all set to go. There's no kickstart for Valentino on this, is there? There he's rolling. What a great WRT.
Ahead of the McLaren. So the Valentino Rossi, as it now is, BMW has jumped ahead of Tom Gamble's McLaren on the pit stops. That has been a really good stop. And Garage 59, I'm afraid, have lost ground out of all of that. Let's have a look at the pit stop time. 53 seconds. That's slow. There was a problem, I fear, for Garage 59, because they've lost something like 10, 11 seconds to the BMW. The BMW did 42.8, so 10.2 seconds lost by the McLaren in the pits. That was the problem.
I mean, you can't afford to throw away 11 seconds. We don't know the reasons. There may have been a technical reason, maybe something we are unable to second guess. But Ricardo Fella has come in. He's decided he's done what he can do. He's going to hand the car over to Alex Arca and a pretty clear pit lane, so makes his way there. The last pits in this pit lane as we go back to the Ferrari. So 69 back out.
So that will now be Giacomo Altway at the wheel, yeah. And we'll see where that feeds him in. We've there got Alex Arca taking over. And also in has come Consul Apolainen there to morph into Ben Green. So Emil Frey putting the cars on different laps for their pit stop, so they've got a clear pit area, not double stacking. So here comes Altway up towards the line. Lucas Auer has not yet pitted. He still leads from Gounon. Alessio Dono yet to pit up into third place. Away goes Arca, falls back behind Altway, rejoins the racetrack now. There goes Dries Van Thor down the pit road and will join in behind the McLaren.
Yeah, but I tell you, Tom Fleming is all over the back of Valentino Rossi as they come out of Paddock Hill Bend up the hill into Druids.
Yeah, the McLaren, Tom Gamble at the wheel of it, going nicely. There's Lucas Auer. Pit. No, another lap to be ticked off. So Lucas Auer stretching this to the end of his stint. I suppose in part the plan would be that by that stage everybody else would have made their pit stops and the pit lane will be nice and clear. Giacomo Altway, absolute best within the first sector, so he's pushing.
He's probably got a new set of rubber as well. There's always a reason behind when you see a purple pop up in a sector. So there is the second place Mercedes into the pits. Jules Gounod's done a very good job. Believe me, that was an excellent job under trying circumstances because they weren't sure whether the car would run to its normal expected performance, and they did a very good job in maintaining a second place, never really being seriously challenged by Vermeulen and the Ferrari in third. Brings the car in, will hand that car over, and here's the car which Vermeulen was behind. Giacomo Altway set fastest sector time in sector 1 on his first flying lap.
The Mercedes is on the move as up to the line comes Altway, but I think the Ferrari might jump ahead because the Mercedes now accelerates out of the pit lane, and yes, Altway goes through. So Jules Gounon's car, Maxi Goetz at the wheel of it, drops a place, and there in fourth now is going to be Alex Arca. So Maxi Goetz is going to have to make the Mercedes wide on this outlap.
Yes, and of course for Goetz getting into the car and not having raced this morning, so it's all new. The circuit has changed overnight. There'll be a different level of grip. He's got a different set of tyres on, I suspect, what he might have used over the running on Saturday. There's our race leader continuing to stay out. So he's got another 5 minutes before the pit lane window will close. He's just going to stay out until the last minute and bring the car back in.
The best pit stop we've had is from Van Thor, 31.2 seconds. But that pit stop for number 9 Mercedes was 47.2. So it was a slow stop for Boots and VDS. That's why they've lost a place overall. So let's see what Winward Racing can do, because Lucas Auer staying out, yet to pit. It shows you how important these pit stops are. Many GT Championship these days has a fixed pit stop time, but it's great to see these natural stops, and you can see how it affects the overall order. Places being lost in the pit, places being won in the pits. Auer looking so strong. Into the pit lane has come Eliseo Dono's Ferrari, then out of second place. Charles Clark, Pro 10, moves up into second. But we'll get the real order, of course, once everybody's pit stops have been served.
So just sailing on majestically. In fact, second place is Charles Clark and the number 12 Aston Martin. And this is just the overlap with pit stops. So the Aston Martin 33 seconds behind. It's all irrelevant because we have to wait and see what happens when Lucas Auer comes in, and it's going to probably be either this lap or next lap. And that's only because he's going to run out of time.
Fastest lap of the race, Ben Green, pole position driver for race 1. 7th he runs at the moment. And the Emil Frey Racing Ferrari, fastest lap, Lucas Auer comes in then. So the bright yellow Mercedes comes into the pit lane. Right, the pit stop time to aim for is 41.2 seconds. Let's see what Winward Racing can do. The clock has started at the line, so it's not the time for the car being stationary, it's pit in, to the box, the work done, and then to the outline.
So that effectively is going to be second place because they overtook the number 9 Mercedes due to that long pit stop. Wow, there's the seat. The drivers have got different seat inserts because of the different heights of drivers. So that insert was chucked into the pit garage. There is the Ferrari, and this is going to be a threat or not to the race leader. I should say hopefully. I suspect not. But Altway is giving it everything coming out of Sterling's. The Mercedes is rolling, so he's going to have a comfortable advantage, I think, because the Ferrari has yet to get into clearways.
So there, Maro Engel accelerates away and onto the pit straight. The car you can see on the track in the background is Giacomo Altway. So the gap as he comes across the line is a big one. It'll be a little bit narrow by the time he gets up to Druid, just as Engel is getting himself up to speed. But in real terms, this has been a great first stint by Auer to build a lead, and Engel now just has to keep that lead to bring it home. And this, if he wins the race, would be Maro Engel's first win in an SRO GT championship without the help of Lucas Stoltz.
Where is Lucas Stoltz?
We see him in endurance.
Another championship. He's in endurance.
Not in sprint, but yeah. So second going through is Altway. Their third now is Goetz, and their fourth is Arca. That is the order. Fastest lap I mentioned was Ben Green, and he will be in fifth place, and up into sixth, Valentino Rossi. So Maxime Martin's efforts have certainly helped that car. No end. There it is, ahead of Tom Gamble now in the McLaren.
Yeah, Tom Gamble, he's under threat from Dries van Voor. He's only just 0.6 of a second behind. But Tom Gamble himself is only half a second behind Valentino Rossi. There is the McLaren, there is the BMW. So Valentino is maintaining his position, keeping Tom Gamble. Oh, wow, look at Valentino. I've never seen him so aggressive, taking a whole load of curb at the inside of Westfield Bend. He's back. He is a racer now. He's not a two-wheel racer. He's a racer.
So this is Tom Gamble, hustling on over the curb. Accelerates now down towards Clark, curve goes right. And now that he's on the power once more, makes his way up towards the timing line. So Maro Engel is leading Giacomo Altway by 4.6 seconds. And at the end of the next lap, we'll see what a flying Engel time is compared to Altway. Goetz running third, Arca fourth, Green fifth, Rossi sixth, seventh is Gamble, eighth there is your race one winner Dries van Voor, ninth now is Paul Everard, and the Porsche 10th Patrick Niederhauser at the wheel of it. In the classes, gold is being led by Paul Everard, Santalok, Audi, and silver provisionally is going to be Tom Fleming now that he's taken over from Alessio Dono. Charles Clark having inherited the lead of the class but has just served his pit stop.
I suspect Valentino's going to be under threat very shortly if he hasn't felt it already from the McLaren, Tom Gamble, and a little bit of a wobble from the BMW as it came out of Surtees. And that again is the kind of image you want to see to give you some more inspiration to try and make a charge from the McLaren running seventh place, just 0.4 of a second behind Valentino in sixth.
Another car to look for a bit further back will be number 7 Aston and Mattia Drudi, because he's now 17th. He's got a lot of work to do. I'm not suggesting he's going to hack his way through the field, but we know that he's very, very quick indeed. Fastest lap of the race has just been set by the car that is in penultimate place. It is being driven by Charlie Eastwood, but the Ferrari number 51 has got the fastest lap of the race. That's quite something.
Yeah, Belfast fine as he is.
Yeah. And there is Alexander Sims, who is 14th for the Mad Panda Motorsport team. First time that Mad Panda has done an event in Sprint Cup in pro, or indeed in any Fanatec GT event as pro. And hopefully Alexander will be back with us for Misano. It's a one-off at the moment, but if it goes well, and it seems to be developing in that direction, we'll hopefully see more of him.
Yeah, it's his first race in a Mercedes AMG GT3. He has tested previously in a Mercedes, but it's his first race. So, again, a professional driver of the highest order, racing primarily in North America, but returning to Europe and sort of waking up to the reality. This is pretty competitive motor racing.
Absolutely so. Well seen in Sprint Cup a long time ago, but seen him in endurance more recently, but I think 2016 was when he was last doing sprint races. So, as I say, Charlie Eastwood is the quickest man on the circuit, and Valentino Rossi here defending his 6th place, but you get the feeling that Tom Gamble and Dries van Voor could go quicker were they to be able to find a way past. 24 minutes of the race remain, and Charles Clark, after the pit stop, number 12 Aston Martin, the car that he brought in, has now dropped back into 17th overall. That is Maro Engel. That's your race leader. His lap was a 23.7, which actually is the car's best. He's gone quicker than Auer, and it, in a sense is understandable because it's on a lighter fuel load. And Giacomo Altway is not lapping as quickly, so the gap is 4.4 seconds. So it was a great first stint by Lucas Auer, no question about it. And the car is in a comfortable race lead. He can reflect on that with Antonia.
Lucas, that was an incredible stint, pulling 6 seconds on Gunon behind you.
Yeah, it was amazing. The car was really good. I had a good start. once you're in the front, it's just a different race. You can set your own pace, you can manage the tires, and it was a perfect stint.
Of course, you've lost a little bit of time in the pits, but do you think you'll be able to pull it through? Do you think Maro will be able to bring it home?
Yeah, Maro is one of the greatest drivers I know, and the car is good, so I wish him best of luck.
That's really sweet, thank you.
Lucas out then, work done. Now has to sit and wait and watch as now you see Valentino Rossi under attack. Tom Gamble going for 6th place here, swooping their way out of Hawthorne, short run towards Westfield. And as Gamble is on the attack, so is Dries Van Voor, who wants to pick up not 1 but 2 places out of all of this.
Yeah, I can imagine the frustration for Dries Van Voor. He probably feels he's naturally quicker than Valentino and arguably maybe that of Tom Fleming. But of course it's the same scenario. You've got 3 cars all running at the same pace, and the 2 that are following are dictated to the pace that we're seeing from Valentino. But Dries Van Voor using all the racetrack and kicking a bit of dust on the exit of Sterling's coming down. But Valentino's looking really racy. It was a race, this race 1 year ago, where I felt he really came of age as a race car driver. He had a great result and continued on. He won the Misano, a very emotional win at the circuit, Marco Simoncelli, and the emotion ran very deep indeed in Valentino Rossi on that particular day.
Tom Gamble's rear view, look on the bigger picture, you'll see him in the middle of the 3-car battle. Right now we're on lap 27, drop downhill, head now through Graham Hill Bend, and 22 minutes of the race remain. Yes, Valentino Rossi has come a long way in the 2.5 years, 2 and a bit years that we've seen him in Fanatec GT. Of course, he's done some of the IGTC racing. He's now in the World Endurance Championship as well, so he's got more and more mileage under his belt. But now he's going to have to work hard to keep Gamble at bay, who goes to the outside line. But is that the ideal place?
No, it's not. But you could see that Valentino was struggling coming through Surtees, and that's the reason why Tom Gamble was able to get virtually alongside the BMW. But the BMW is sufficiently quick where it matters, and just about was able to keep the McLaren. And of course, because of the circumstances coming into Hawthorne, Valentino had the track that he wanted and prevented Fleming from moving up through.
Valentino Rossi out of Sterling's, Tom Gamble with the BMW behind him of Dries Van Voor all up the curve as Dries is determined to try to get him past that McLaren. But Valentino is doing a good job here because he's not cracking under the pressure, is he? He's not making mistakes, he's not locking up, he's not going wide. If Gamble wants to get past, he's going to have to work hard.
Yes, I think Valentino's maybe having to carry a car that isn't performing at the level you would expect it to do, but he's driving in a manner in which he's making it very difficult for those behind to do anything about it. So, yes, Tom Gamble is doing the best he can. He's got Dries Van Voor all over him, directly behind, and you can see him on 3 laps how much, well, he's taking about 10th and a bit of a second over the 3 laps. There is the view from the McLaren. Watch how Valentino enters into Surtees, takes that very early line. That's more like a motorcycle line than it is a car line. He hugs the curb early, but it's affecting his exit speed. There you can see the McLaren is quicker on the exit from Surtees than Valentino is.
Nose to tail again at the bottom of Pilgrim's Drop. McLaren on the tail of the BMW. Valentino Rossi then still hanging on to that 6th place, but of course he's falling away from the traffic ahead while he's having to defend like this. The cars ahead are lapping in the 23s or 24s. He's on a 1:25 lap because he's taking these more defensive lines. And Gamble is having to work doubly hard in a way, attack and defend. And Van Voor has a cheeky fake to the inside line, but that doesn't dislodge the McLaren.
No, but it's just trying to frustrate the car you're charging. I mean, Dries Van Voor has got so much experience and so much natural ability behind the wheel. Whatever you throw at him, an Audi, a BMW or WEC, whatever. But still, even Tom Fleming is, sorry, I keep saying Tom Fleming, Tom Gamble is basically unaffected by what Dries Van Voor is doing.
For track limits infringement to car 12.
And
the time penalty will be added to the final racing time.
Car 12.
Yes, Charles Clark and Dante Rapanch.
Yeah, that's right. So the Aston Martin copping a time penalty for track limit abuses. That I suspect is largely to the start driver of that car, which would have been Charles Clark, because Dante Rapanch has not been in it for very long. Anyway, Rossi onto the Grand Prix loop once more. We've got just under 19 minutes of the race to go. We're on lap 29. And they're the Gold Cup leading car. It's another Audi like it was in race 1, but it's a different team. It is the Saint-Eloi car of Gilles Magnus who started it, and now Paul Everard, the man behind the wheel. And they're quite a long way up the road this time from the Max Hofer, Luca Engschler Audi, so it's looking good for the French team here.
Yeah, I mean, a large part of this is due to the start positions, vis-a-vis what they had in the race earlier today. And grid position, and I mean the best example I think of grid position is that of the number 32 BMW, Dries van Voor behind the wheel. Unfortunately for Charles Witt, he didn't get the kind of lap he wanted, and therefore starting in the 5th row of the grid, that's the penalty you're paying.
So out of Clark Curve they come, heading up now towards the timing line once more. The race leading gap is coming down a little bit because last time another 3/10 were pulled back on Engel by Altway. But Mauro Engel doesn't have to win by a massive gap, just needs to win. A little bit deep into paddock, maybe there, Valentino Rossi, and Tom Gamble's got good speed, good exit speed out of the corner, but Rossi knows how to defend. He's got the car across the road well in anticipation of Druids there, hasn't he?
Yeah, the consequence is it just draws Dries van Voor up down the inside into Graham Hill Bend. Wow, what a commitment that was, and Valentino Rossi was sort of left, and now Dries van Voor's going to slip up at the inside coming into Surtees, but can he make it stick, or well, was that going to be contact on teammate and teammate again? But Dries van Voor will probably now find a way rather quickly around his teammate, and it's probably going to happen coming up under Hawthorns because Dries van Voor is looking to find a way up the inside. Is he going to do something? Has to bail. Couldn't get far enough alongside Valentino to take that position away.
Great battle between the two BMWs, but a really good pass by Tom Gamble, putting him into the top 6. Maxime Martin looks on then, so after his first stint, it's all down to Valet now to bring that car home in a good result. Clips the curve at Sheen Curve. So let's see what he can do to repel the challenge of Dries van Voor. If he can hang on to his place down to the very end, he'll have earned it because we know just how good Dries is.
It'll be interesting to see how WRT handle this situation, whether they feel there's greater value in having Valentino finish 6th position or have the 32 car, which was the winning car this morning, gain an extra position and therefore the extra points for doing so. So it might be ultimately a decision made from the pit lane as to whether these two cars do swap position rather than resolve the issue in a racing overtake.
And while they squabble, Gamble's getting away. Another good little fight going on here as you see number 30, which is Callum Williams on the back of Dante Rapponge coming up towards the line. That car, the Aston Martin at the head of this battle pack, has got that penalty, don't forget. Christopher Haser is behind them in 19th place as they come over the line. And Williams having a look on the inside but could not find a way through. The Aston's deep into the corner, a bit ragged, and then straight up the inside goes the BMW. The Audi hopes to follow it through as well. Williams brakes late, gains a place, overall and in class.
Yeah, very simple, just the Aston got it wrong, especially at the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, and it was a job done. So one little error, one corner makes a big difference. Still the battle going on between the two BMWs, Valentino in 7th, Dries van Voor in 8th. Aston trying to come back. But the damage was done and the exit of Paddock Hill Bend.
So Dante Rapponge falls back behind Callum Williams, and Rossi is keeping Van Voor at bay. And Dries getting more and more frustrated here because he knows he could be quicker were he to be ahead, but he can't be ahead, can't find a way by. So Tom Gamble now pulling away. I don't think he's going to catch Ben Green up the road. The lead gap is down a bit more, 3.2 seconds, so it's fluctuating a little bit now, but Engel and Altway are 1st and 2nd. Maxi Goetz 3rd for Mercedes AMG, then it's Arca, Green, Gamble, and this battle, 7th place, Valentino Rossi versus Dries van Voor.
So right now the boys are being allowed to resolve the issue on the track. The only caveat is do not hit your teammate. Well, there is our race leader, comfortably 3.2 seconds, albeit that was up to nearly 4 seconds earlier in this second sprint race here this afternoon. There's 2nd place Giacomo Altway in the Ferrari, and it's, you can see 3/10 on lap 30, 2 and a bit tenths on lap 29. Lap 31, well, it sort of was even Stevens, but there is progress coming from Altway in the Ferrari, just nibbling away at the advantage that race leader Mauro Engel has enjoyed.
Riding on board with Altway, quicker in sector 1, comes up to the end of sector 2, quicker there as well. We're only talking hundreds, but it's a step in the right direction for the Emil Frey Racing Ferrari team. They came so close to a win last year. Didn't happen when Albert Costa was part of that driving lineup. And coming over the timing line now goes Altway. 45 minutes, nearly 46 are done, and the gap 2.9 seconds.
Yeah, it's coming down literally about a tenth and a bit of a second per lap. And the key will be Altway will see that gap. He doesn't need to see it on the screen, the timing and scoring and information he will have on the screen on his car, or that the team will convey to him. He will see that he is closing gradually. The trouble is he's only got 13.5 minutes of the race remaining, and the incremental gains is not sufficient to run down the Mercedes before the checkered flag comes in. Other than traffic, that's always going to be the key. here at Brands, catching and lapping back markers.
And there is one of the slower cars, number 18, Marcus Pavarud, just up the road, doing the 2 races solo. So you have
5-second time penalty to car 18, disrespecting track limits.
I talk about Marcus Pavarud, he cops a penalty for track limit abuses, doing the 2 races solo.
You feel sorry for Marcus, don't you? I mean, he's had to drive this weekend on his own because James Kell has been unwell, so heaping pain upon pain, one might say. But if you abuse track limits, the penalties are there to be delivered. This is a good little battle, by the way.
It is. This is Maxi Goetz versus Alex Arca. And Goetz is the one hooking the wheel onto the dirt. And behind them as well, look, is Ben Green. So 3rd, 4th, 5th. That could all change by the end, especially as they've got to get past a slower car.
Indeed, but I suspect Pavarud was going to step aside sooner than later. Coming up into Paddock Bend would be ideal for the 3rd place Mercedes. He does the right thing. Good driving from Pavarud. He used his mirrors. He was he was generous to those that are involved in a battle for the podium positions.
On board again with Alex Arca, running 4th, heading up the hill. He's attacking Goetz. He's defending from Green. He knows this Audi inside out. The car run by his father's team. Arkin Arca, the man behind a Tempto that came to prominence initially, really running successful Porsche one-make campaigns. They tried a number of different brands when they first came into GT racing, including McLaren, but Audi they have settled on and become very successful with.
5 additional second time penalty to car 12, track limits infringement.
Right, Dante Rapon has just taken over 12 and copped his own penalty, so that's 2 lots of 5 going the way of number 12 Aston here.
In the meantime, Dries van Voor has not made the overtake that he was going to hope to do, and he's still having to deal with a driver, Valentino Rossi, who is using real proper racecraft, and nothing that Dries van Voor has been able to do. He can catch, he can get under the rear wing of his teammate, but hasn't got the gas where it counts.
And it's a good defensive drive by Valentino Rossi. He may not be therefore staying with Tom Gamble, but he wants to maintain 7th place, and he's going the right way about it as the 2 of them nose to tail come out of Sterling's. Rossi may be a bit wider, and this is Van Voor's chance, is it? He looks at the inside. No, can't do it there.
Yeah, the exit Sterling is down to the entry into Clark Clearways is relatively short, so there's not really much chance to build up momentum and make a move. You need a driver to make a mistake, as we saw with the Porsche when Maxime Martin managed to slip through down the inside, but that's pretty rare to see at Brands Hatch where you've got 2 competitive cars sort of running door handle to door handle.
Again, it's Druids. They come together. Rossi a little bit deep. Now maybe the pressure is starting to tell. Couple of small errors in the space of a lap.
Watch into Surtees. This is going to be Dries van Voor's best opportunity. Now, can he get his nose up alongside that of his sister car? And yes, he's got it done. And a little bit of a wobble forced Rossi to back out and step sideways. So finally, but again, that all began 2 corners before the overtake began.
So Dries van Voor goes through up into 7th place, and now, with respect to Valentino Rossi, should stretch that margin, because we know, having won race 1, how quick the red BMW is. But Dries van Voor, with just 10 minutes of the race to go, is not going to be able to catch Tom Gamble, who has gained the best part of 6 seconds over him now. The race leader, by the way, Mauro Engel, has just come over the timing line with 10 minutes to go, and he's getting away once again, I would propose, from Giacomo Altway. Replay of this move, and it was very committed by Van Voor.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 100% effort on the part. And watch Valentino, he just has to make a correction to avoid that contact. But it all began because of the exit coming out of Druids. And Van Voor saw that, he knew that was his good. Maybe he was going to get that one opportunity to find a way around his teammate. He read it well, he saw it, he executed it with commitment, which is what he was going to have to do. And he's now moved on up into 7th position, but he's too far behind Tom Gamble, who's making his own charge to try and run down Ben Green in the 5th place Ferrari.
So there is Green, who's on the back of Arca, who, because he's defending 4th, is falling away from Goetz now. So Maxi Goetz for 3rd place might be able to consolidate this to the end. The gap at the start of the lap was something like 0.8 of a second over the Audi there. And further back, you've got number 25, Paul Everard, versus Patrick Niederhauser. Now, this is 9th overall. Gold Cup leader versus Pro Cup Porsche. And the Porsche has really struggled for pace this weekend, but Patrick Niederhauser, not letting his head drop, still chasing, and see if he can gain a spot before the end of the race, that he's now just over 8.5 minutes away.
Very strange, the performance of this car over the weekend, and they've been given the benefit of some BOP adjustments, taking some of the weight out of the car, which has probably helped, but not put the car on the kind of pace that I think the Rotronic team would have expected when they came into Brands Hatch. Patrick Niederhauser particularly behind the wheel, an absolute ace last year as far as we saw, driving an Audi, but it's just not working this weekend for the Rotronic team.
No, it's been really frustrating, hasn't it, as they come once more down into Clark Curve, then through the right, back on the power, up towards the line, and the Audi has just edged away again. So Niederhauser is close.
Time penalty, 5 additional seconds time penalty for track limits infringement to car 12.
A third 5-second penalty for number 12. And in fairness, I know the drivers are new to the car, but the team needs to be on the radio, is a bit like we heard from WRT in race 1, saying, calm it, calm it, calm it.
Ooh, that was a great little moment, not for the driver of the Aston Martin, but great for the viewers. You know, it's so up the hill, as we see the Aston Martin makes its way through and then drops down the hill, and that is Rapanch behind the wheel, and Sean Hudspeth in the Ferrari just ahead, having taken that position away.
Ben Green's not given up in his quest to be fourth by the end, has he? He's right there behind Arca. So the Audi comes out of the corner ahead, but only just ahead. On the power now, this is the run down towards Clark Curve. Turn in, head up towards the line. 7 minutes are on the clock, that's all, as Mauro Engel looks as though he's heading for honours. 3 seconds to the good.
Well, I look forward to seeing Ben Green more in a Ferrari. He's been a real star for me throughout the weekend. And again, because of the qualification, that he's had to work very hard to get himself up into this position, in 5th position, just under half a second behind Alex Arca, who thought he was going to move, and Maximilian Gertz running in 3rd place in the number 9 Mercedes. But now Alex Arca's mind is going to be more about what's going to happen with Ben Green behind me, more than putting a challenge on Max Gertz running for the final podium. Oh, Valentino!
Big moment at Paddock Hill Bend.
And massive bit of turf. You think you're at a golf tournament, that level of turf on the racetrack. So he's backed out of it. He feels maybe he's done some damage to the front of the car. Don't know what it was. We just saw the end of it. Smoke coming out of the back of the car. Something coming out. Here he is. And just appeared to not really continue the exit of the corner.
Yeah, you're right. It's like
he might feel there's an issue that was the reason for that. Maxime Martin giving his view on it to the team. So back up to speed for Valentino, but that really caught him unawares. He didn't expect the car to behave in that manner.
The team will be on the radio saying what happened, how does the car feel. He'll be reporting back. They'll be looking at data and telling him if they can see anything wrong, but it just looked like it might have been a slight error, and Valentino Rossi off the road. That's cost him 2 or 3 places as the 3rd, 4th, 5th battle pack goes by with 5 minutes change on the clock now. Lead gap stretched out again to 3.5 seconds, so the Winward Racing Mercedes almost able to toy with the opposition like a cat does with a mouse, doesn't it? If they get close, we'll pull away again, and then we can ease off a bit, and then we can pull away again. So it's given Emile Frey false hope. There's the second of the Emile Frey cars. So let's just go back to that Valentino Rossi moment. Let's check in on his audio.
Okay, copy, box. Okay, be careful, all the car will come, box this lap.
So steering issue he was reporting, and we've also, as he comes into the pit lane, got, what now, just under 5 minutes of the race to go. John, sorry.
Yeah, steering issue is hard to understand. My guess would be, is that an issue with the power steering on the car? Because it was strange the way the car behaved. And if you had power steering and then it suddenly lost it, the steering weight, it almost freezes in your hand. You don't have control until you make that mental and physical adjustment to have to heave the wheel to make the car turn.
Well, it's in the pits and effectively therefore out of the race because it's lost so much time, and the car I can see out of the window is going to its garage. So there it is, Valentino Rossi's race done. Big shame for his fans that are here. And as ever, there are many of them. The race into the last 4 minutes almost, as the race leaders go by with 3.3 seconds between them. In 3rd place, Maxi Gertz. 4th there is Alex Arca, and 5th is Ben Green. So not quite as much drama in race 2 as race 1, but it's been fascinating as well still to see the relative pace of the car as they go past the Rossi turf. And look at this 5. Tom Gamble there is closing.
Well, Tom Gamble has been driving well all the way through, but he's getting up to that sort of half a second zone behind Alex Arca and the Audi, and that's the effect, the aero effect, and all the other drawbacks, if you wish. in running in a car, a line of 3 cars, all taking aero away except for the Mercedes in 3rd place. That's the one who can drive more or less the line he wants. But certainly Alex Arca and Ben Green are having to deal with the aero wash from the respective cars they're getting closer to.
To Westfield they go, 3 minutes and counting now. So race leaders come through the right of Westfield.
Just keep an eye on Tom Gamble. He was about 4 seconds behind a few laps ago. He is closed up to the back of the Ferrari, closing to the back of the Ferrari quickly indeed. So before this race goes to the checkered flag, you might see there the Garage 159 McLaren right on the tail of Ben Green in the Ferrari.
And don't forget, the McLaren is trying to recover after a slow pit stop because it was running in the leading group early on. It was on the 2nd row of the grid, but they lost about 10 seconds in the pit. So there is Tom Gamble. He's almost there. 2.5 minutes just over remain in this race. Can he get up onto the back of Ben Green? Gertz through for 3rd, Arca for 4th, Green 5th. And Tom Gamble in 6th place. The lead gap 3.6 seconds. Maro Engel consolidating the early efforts of Lucas Auer. A little bit further back, 7th Dries Van Thor, up to 8th now Paul Everard. He's still got Patrick Niederhauser on his tail, and Max Hofer 10th. So there's Ben Green. He's been another of the stars of the weekend, hasn't he?
Oh, I think he's been one of my, a handful of stars, unquestionably. As I say, I'd love to see him do more of these events.
See how his laps have been above the pace of the class average and then below as he gets a bit stuck in the traffic once he closes on Arca. Arca's having another final push, isn't he? Because he's closer to Gertz coming out of Hawthorns along the short straight, the Derek Minter straight towards Westfield. Now go right and then the climb up Sheen Curve.
Well, this is in effect going to be the penultimate lap of this 1 hour race, because when they come across the start-finish line, that will be going on to the final lap. Of course, the race leader is that little bit further down, so we've got to see where he is in relation. So let's say the lap times are low 125s, high 124, so depends where Maro Engel is in relationship. He may actually click up one more lap, 2 laps to go.
Yeah.
So this is now going on to the penultimate lap.
Yeah, Engel went through with a lap time and a bit to spare, so by 2 or 3 seconds they'll squeeze another lap out of it at the end of this. Super Slow Joe, our cameraman over at Sterling's, records this from a slightly wayward Alex Arca, just running a little bit wide at Sheen Curve into Sterling's.
Yeah, that's what Ben Green is looking for. He's thinking, still got an opportunity, and if I can force Alex Arca into making errors like that, or little minor errors. But again, Arca's recovered well. He's closing again to the tail of the 3rd place Mercedes, Max Gertz. And again, the Mercedes slightly wider on the exit, and therefore slightly slower onto the Pilgrim's Drop. Hawthorns Bend is coming up, and again, look, Tom Gamble is getting closer and closer, almost by the corner, to the tail of Ben Green in the Ferrari.
Along Derek Minter straight, again, they come. 23 seconds and counting on the clock. So we're nearly there, nearly at the end of the hour. But Maro Engel, the race leader, will, unless he really backs off, get another lap out of this. He could back off a little bit. He's on to Cooper Straight now. And up towards the timing line, Maro Engel goes through. And Maro Engel just squeezes on to one more lap. And he did that by just under 3 seconds.
He had a 3.5 second advantage over the 2nd place car of Giacomo Altweb, with a big ask to say, back off 3 seconds, you're still going to win by ½ a second.
So one more lap, and that gives one more chance for Ben Green and Tom Gamble. And look, Arca has fallen away from the Mercedes all of a sudden, and he's there under huge attack, is he not, as they drop down the hill?
Yeah, I think it's all done and dusted in reality, and I don't anticipate Alex Arca making an error. I don't anticipate the Ferrari Ben Green making an error, and Tom Gamble, who's driven a sterling stint behind the wheel of the Garage 159 McLaren, he's done all he can do. He is probably arguably the quicker of the 3 cars, but again, the usual story, you can catch, but where are you going to find a way around?
Not easy, is it? Up they come then now.
5 additional second time penalty to car 12 for track limits. Total is 20 seconds.
So that's 4 separate penalties.
And, you know, one of the most important things about a racing driver is being consistent. Now, whether you get consistent in performance or consistent in, you know, in track limit abuses, but consistency is an important quality.
Well, it's been a very good drive by both Lucas Auer and Maro Engel. Race 2 in Sprint Cup at Brands Hatch is going to be won by Maro Engel and Lucas Auer. The Winward Racing Mercedes takes its first win in an SRO GT event. Giacomo Altway closer at the end by 2.5 seconds, the margin, but not close enough to attack. Third will go the way of Maxi Götz. Fourth, Alex Arca. Fifth, Ben Green. Tom Gamble, sixth. And then seventh should be Dries Van Thor, coming up towards the line, the race 1 winner. That's Lucas Auer's first win with an SRO GT tag to it, and Winward Racing's first outright race win in Fanatec GT. Seventh is Van Thor, and a change on the last lap for eighth. Look, because Niederhauser has gone ahead of Paul Everard, so the Porsche is eighth and getting away, but the Audi, the white Audi behind, is going to be ninth, and to win the Gold Cup then, number 25, Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus take the gold win. 10th will be Max Hoffer and Luca Enschler, second in gold. And then the silver winners there, Tom Fleming and Alessio Dono ahead of Lucas Leggere, because we've lost Alexander Sims on the last lap of the race. The number 90 Mad Panda Mercedes has not come through. He's got a penalty next now. Why does number 90 not have a checkered flag next to it, having come across the line? It is showing an alert next to it. So Alexander Sims, I'm confused about, because he is shown as having done the same number of laps as everybody else. He's not crossed the timing line in the pits. Anyway, provisionally, he is 17th, but there's something to unravel there. The number 90 Mad Panda Mercedes, 17th provisionally. There, though, is the winning Winward Racing Mercedes. Lucas Auer did a great job early doors. That set up Mauro Engel, and Mauro didn't miss a beat.
No, perfect weekend for the Winward Racing team. Of course, an American team, and when they brought the car out into the grid, of course, they brought out the Stars and Stripes, just to emphasize that this is an American entered team, and they've achieved, I think, a great success here over this weekend.
So out comes Mauro Engel, who's been a loyal servant of Mercedes, racing the DTM for them, raced in GT races, and of course the GT style DTM most recently, had a spell in Australia in the V8 supercars, and he's on the instruction of the photographers, sent in front of the car his first Fanatec GT win without Lukas Stolz, so he's got somebody else to celebrate with for a change. An endurance champion, he wants the sprint title this year, and that's a good start to the campaign.
Well, I tell you, Lukas Stolz has always been a loyal partner, but now he's got Lucas Auer, and Lucas Auer not only put this car in pole position, but he led his section of the race with ease.
Yeah.
So, as a replacement substitute or whatever he might be, he did a fantastic job.
Can't argue with that, and there is Lucas Auer making his way down to the presentation area. So after a very impressive first end, and in fairness, a very impressive qualifying session, because he did enough to put the car on pole, and we know he's good, but perhaps we were anticipating that it would be Jules Gounon that was the fastest. Wasn't to be. There, Giacomo Altway, the taller of the two, with Thierry Vermeulen. They're second for Emile Frey Racing. And in the background is number 9 of Maxi Götz and Jules Gounon, but at least they've taken some points out of what's been a tough day.
Yeah, I mean, they've sort of almost been in rescue mode, but both drivers did what they had to do. It was a very professional effort by Jules Gounon and Max Götz, under extremely difficult circumstances, not being able to race in race 1 this morning and going into race 2, not really knowing where the car's performance is going to be, but a great consolidatory drive from both drivers.
So we'll get the top 3 golds and silvers, as well as the top 3 from the overall, the pro competition. And to start us off, let's hear from our race winners. Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer are with Antonia.
Guys, that was dominant from start to end, with a brilliant, brilliant advantage from the beginning.
Yeah, the car, big thanks to the team. The car was mega, strategy, pit stops, everything just mega. Mauro drove very well, and great weekend.
Mauro, your pure consistency in that second stint clearly really paid off.
Yeah, I knew maybe some of the other cars were on new tires, so I knew I had to play the long lane, but like Lucas said, the car was amazing, and yeah, big thanks to the team. Great way to start the year.
Absolutely, a fantastic start to the season. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
So 2 happy drivers and all smiles. And well done Winward Racing as well, because it's a team that's worked its way now to become a proper, if you like, Mercedes-AMG team, taking on board factory drivers, and that's a badge of honour for the squad.
Absolutely, I mean, they've come a long way indeed. So having a victory here at Brands Hatch will be memorable. Indeed, you see those, I mean, the graphics on the car is a bit like a, I suppose you might say, a king cobra.
Yeah.
But whatever way, it's colourful, but it doesn't matter. It's the performance that has been remarkable. Lucas Auer did a stunning job in qualifying, and Mauro Engel did what he was required to do. He was talking about other drivers' teams running a new set of tyres on that second driver stint, and he had a set of tyres which weren't brand new, but he did what he had to do. A professional performance from one of the most professional drivers in the field.
Well, a winning margin of 2.5 seconds. It was an easy in-lap to the checkered flag, if you like, for Mauro Engel. Didn't have to stress the car too much, but a win nonetheless, and that's good news for the championship. Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus win in gold. Let's hear from them.
No pressure.
Guys, you did fantastically there. You really held position despite challenges from the back pretty much throughout the race.
Yeah, Paul did an amazing job. I mean, he was super competitive in the end, and he was struggling a bit in race 1, but now he was on fire. It was great. No, super to have this first victory in sprint after the endurance victory in Paul Ricard. So yeah, super happy and proud of this guy.
Paul, was it hard to hold your position despite being challenged constantly?
Yes, I am did. It was a really good weekend for us after the victory of Paul Ricard, and Gilles was amazing this weekend and yesterday in Q2, and in the first stint was really good.
Thank you guys, enjoy the podium.
Thank you.
And the podium beckons for Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus, as it does for Max Hofer and Luca Engschler there. Runners-up, and although they lost a place at the end, overall it didn't matter because the class win was theirs. Patrick Niederhauser's Porsche got ahead on that last lap, but a great drive nonetheless to come home as the category winners. And that's the main aim, of course, for the gold and the silvers. We talk about where they are overall because it's inevitable that we will, but that's not the main aim. It's the class wins or positions that they're after. And what a debut in silver for Tom Fleming and Eliseo Dono, because they come out on top in the Silver Cup.
Well, guys, despite potentially having a couple of issues with the car, what an incredible weekend.
Yeah, it's an incredible weekend. We had a problem with the ABS, but I won the race, so I'm really exciting. So now I'm focused for Misano for the next race, and we'll see.
Now, Tom, your debut weekend, 2 times on the podium, one of them in P1. You must be overjoyed.
I mean, to be honest, I was quite nervous hopping into the car. You know, like I said, on the grid, and as Dono said, we had an ABS failure, so we carried that throughout the race. You know, Dono had a couple laps on the formation lap and whatnot to get used to it, but me, I was completely blind going into it. Having only done a couple of days in the GT3 to where we are now, it's awesome. You know, the team is really happy. Of course, as they would be, you know, to get 2 silvers onto the top is awesome. So overall, a learning weekend, but it's been mega. So
absolutely, congratulations, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you know what's most frightening about all this? They look so young.
Fresh into GT3 racing and category winners. The Silver Cup victors then are Tom Fleming and Eliseo Dono, and the Ferrari, even with an ABS problem like none of it, still comes through to win. So I think their names we're going to be hearing a lot more about in the future. The Ferraris have always gone well around Brands Hatch, and a great win as the drivers make their way to the podium. We've just had the winning pit stop team, which has been the WRT number 32 crew. This is the race result. Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer win at Brands Hatch from Giacomo Altway and Thierry Vermeulen. Maxi Goetz and Jules Gunn third from Alex Alka and Ricardo Feller. The top 6 rounded out by Ben Green and Consta Lapalainen, Tom Gamble and Benjamin Goethe in 6th. Gold winners, Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus. Silver winners, Tom Fleming and Eliseo Dono at the end of 43 laps around the Brands Hatch circuit without interruption. No safety car, no full course yellow this time. Confirmation of the gold winners then, Magnus and Everard silver, Dono and Fleming. And their Ferrari clear of the race 1 winners, Aurélien Panis and César Gazot. And just the one retirement after all of that, the BMW of Valentino Rossi and Maxime Martin with its power steering dramas. An outright win though for Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer for Winward Racing Team Manfilter. So the podium beckons, drivers have made their way up there, and the car on track at the moment, one of the support race cars being given 3 laps after a problem to put it onto the back of the grid for a race to come later on in the day. But still a couple of support races at Brands Hatch. Busy day for marshals, for the fans, and club racing alive and well in the UK.
If any sequence of corners sums up old school racetracks, exit of Sheen Curve into Stirling's, having those magnificent English trees so close to the side of the circuit, you know, it takes you back. I hate to say it, the good old days.
You could indeed say that. The global Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS Manufacturer Cup points, have Mercedes AMG ahead of Porsche, and then BMW in 3rd. And remember, for the global competition, we're talking Europe, Australia, America, and Asia all added together. So lots of applause come from the engineers, as out are Maxi Goetz and Jules Gounon then for third place. The one race of the day, but thankfully it's got them onto the podium.
Yes, and more importantly, got them good points. So they'll wonder what could have been, what should have been. But the reality is they didn't score, they didn't start in race 1.
Yeah.
And they finish on the podium in race 2.
They'll look forward to Misano, as will Giacomo Altway and Thierry Vermeulen, as will these two drivers, the winners, Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer, for the Winwood Racing Team Manfilter. They make their way onto the podium, the team represented there as well. And Mauro Engel has done it again, new co-driver, but another day, another win, another Mercedes. Lucas Auer, Mauro Engel victors at Brands Hatch. Not often you hear an American national anthem, is it, for European racing, but the American flag and the American anthem played as the trophies will be presented then by Jeremy Aston Phillips, the director of Rover Oil UK, and Maxi Goetz and Jules Gounon take their first trophies. Then for Thierry Vermeulen and Giacomo Altway, the trophies go to the drivers. And next up, it will be Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer for the drivers' trophies, after the team award has been given to Manfilter Winwood Racing. There it is, the American squad coming out on top at the end of an excellent weekend. I mean, not just that race, yes, but so much effort put into making a good car for qualifying to be ahead of the Boots and VDS entry. There are the winners' trophies then, the gold trophies for Mauro and for Lucas. Lucas Auer, Mauro Engel win here at Brands Hatch. Champagne awaits, and some drivers might run, but the team copped the lot. Celebrations on the podium at Brands Hatch then, and a very different type of circuit in 2 weeks' time for the Sprint Cup. Misano, it's fast, but it's a lot flatter. It is wider, so a modern-day circuit, if you like, and accommodates bikes, just like Brands Hatch does, but a very different format of circuit. Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel will leave as the championship leaders, ahead of Charles Witz and Dries van Voor, with Ben Green and Consul Appelainen third, and Giacomo Altway and Thierry Vermeulen fourth within the pro category. So for Winwood Racing Manfilter, the photographs are taken. Happy drivers, happy team. But yes, we talk about how drivers improve and come on. It's interesting, isn't it, to see how teams progress as well. Winwood Racing came from American GT into Europe and came through winning it in the classes, as you might say, in the gold and the silver cup, but now to win outright and to be recognised by Mercedes AMG for factory drivers, it shows the quality.
Indeed, I mean, we've got series racing in North America. It's an entirely different sort of culture. You be successful in North America, you come over here, you have to start again, almost rewrite your book of how do you go motor racing, and conversely, you do the same from Europe going into North America. It doesn't automatically mean you're going to dominate, but a great effort indeed by Winwood Racing, and I mean, a very dominant result here this afternoon. And Mauro Engel, I mean, he's such a complete Mercedes product now. You well, not just a driver. There is the view as he came through Sheen Curve and makes his way on his final lap into Stirling's, and job done, and he'll be a happy Mercedes driver this evening.
No question about it. I've used the phrase before, a loyal Mercedes servant, but he's done. Yes, Mercedes have looked after Mauro. They've given him employment year after year, but he has delivered. He has won races and maximum commitment, whether it's in modern-day F1 style circuits or on the streets of Macau. He's just one of the greats for Mercedes AMG. Right, as the reflection of the support race grid getting away can be seen in the windows of race control, we go to the Gold Cup, where onto the podium have just come Lucas Legeret and Simon Gachet, Luca Engschler and Max Hofer for second. The winning team is Santilloc, and that means the team's rep is there on the far left of the podium, and it means that the two winning drivers are about to come forward as well. Gilles Magnus and Paul Evrard step forward. Where are they? Where are they? They're there. Up they come. And celebrations for the Gold Cup victors. Good to see two different combinations winning in all the classes, in fact, over the course of the day, as Gilles Magnus and Paul Everard score honours in the Gold Cup here at Brands Hatch after a really impressive drive. So the national anthem played for that winning team of Saint-Eloque. And well done to our Gold Cup winners, Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus, then standing on the top step. Trophies go to the very tall Lucas Legeret at the far end, and to Simon Gachet. All of them, of course, those teams, Audis.
I was going to say, we don't have Audi necessarily winning from the front as we've been accustomed to doing over many seasons, but they have won their category. They've come here, and it's a bit an Audi, almost an Audi fest as far as winning this category.
They're still quick cars, still competitive cars, still well-developed cars. Trophies then to the winning drivers. Gilles Magnus and Paul Everard face front, pose for the photographs and celebrate a race win here at Brands Hatch. Gold Cup victory in race 2, Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus. And some flee the podium. The good news is they don't have to worry about their overalls for another race, at least today, but a win is a win is a win. And Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus enjoy themselves. Luca Engschler then, having had a great debut, a win and a second in the Gold Cup here for the Engschler team with One Group Engineering. They've had a good day too. And poor old Gilles Magnus now can't see where he's going. He's soaked, he's smelly, and he's virtually blinded by the champagne.
He's blinded, and that's the problem. You get champagne shard on your face and your eyes. You have to shut your eyes to stop the champagne because it stings like mad.
Yeah.
So therefore you can't see. You're sort of not stuttering, but stumbling around the podium, and somebody's there just pouring champagne more and more upon you.
And that leaves the silver podium to go. There is the classification in gold, with just a 1.5 advantage for Luca Engschler and Max Hofer after a win in the second from Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus, Simon Gachet and Lucas Legeret third, and then Salo Joric and Charlie Eastwood fourth. Disappointing day for Salo Joric. I think he'll be frustrated with the pace there relative to Charlie. We'll be working on that, no doubt, before we get to Misano if he can.
Well, that car certainly had pace, because Charlie Eastwood at one point had set the fastest race lap.
Well, Audi does it again. Can't keep a good car down, can you? And so for the Saint-Eloque team, honours here in the second race of the day, second race of the year in Sprint Cup. And there the silvers are already in place. For third in the class, the Sam de Haan, Callum Williams combination. For second, Cesar Gazzo and Aurelien Panis. And that means that the win will go to AF Corsa, and it will go to Tom Fleming and Eliseo O'Donnell. There they are. They step forward. Both of them new to GT3 racing, new to the championship. Eliseo O'Donnell new to the track as well, but it's not phased either of them, and they, for AF Corsa, take honours in the Silver Cup.
And Tom Fleming delighted to be in the winner's pub. He's got a winner's smile.
Yes. So well done to Eliseo O'Donnell and Tom Fleming. And as they celebrate, let's look at the highlights then. Here at Brands Hatch, when the lights changed, it was a good start by Lucas Auer. He bolted into the race lead as the cars blasted up towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time of asking. And Maxime Martin was on his toes as well as he tried to wriggle his way up through the traffic as the cars charged into the right-hander of Druids for the first time. Dropped downhill in towards Graham Hill Bend. There was drama at the top as well, but a tire smoke, and then there was contact as Magnus Gustafsson was tagged by Hugo Cook, and the cars made contact, and it was the Mercedes that was fired off the road. One or two others ran wide as well over the course of the early part of the race, and Hugo Cook had a second drama. That was at Paddock as he bounced his way through the gravel. Sven Muller was under attack in the Porsche, and he lost out on the drop down towards Clearways. And then on the pit stops, it was a slow pit stop for Garage 59. So its McLaren went backwards, and a very good stop for WRT's red BMW, putting Dries Van Voor into it. Tom Gamble, though, made a full send up the inside to get ahead of Valentino Rossi to move through, and then it took Dries Van Voor many laps to dislodge his teammate, which he finally did going in towards Surtees. But while that pass was going on up front, Mauro Engel, consolidating Lucas Au's good first stint, came through to maintain the advantage and take honours in the second race of the season. A win for Mauro Engel and Lucas Au at the end of a very good weekend for Mercedes AMG. And the next stop in 2 weeks' time is Misano. We'll see you there. From John Watson and David Anderson, it's goodbye.